Chapter 14:26. Suddenly, the entire lake shook. The water surface broke open, and a huge dragon covered with black scales emerged from the bottom of the water. Linning looked at the black dragon hovering in the sky and was shocked. She said in a hoarse voice, "Yi, you lied to us. You said that the dragon was only at the 3rd level of the Spirit Emperor realm and was about to transform into a dragon, but it has already grown a dragon horn and reached the 4th level of the Spirit Emperor realm." Yi's face was cold. She didn't speak, but her eyes were staring at the black dragon hovering in the air. Hong Yin took out the giant axe with a heavy face and said to Yi Hao, "Brother Sangao, this dragon is powerful. You should leave as soon as possible." Yi Hao heard the words, but he didn't move. Instead, he smiled and said, "Brother Hong San, someone won't let me leave now. Am I right, Miss Yi?" Yi heard Yi Hao's words, but her expression was cold. She didn't speak. At this moment, Linning suddenly retreated frantically. Yi suddenly pulled out her long sword and stabbed it into the ground. Lin Ying's frantically retreating figure suddenly stopped. Linning looked at her feet surrounded by ice and yelled at Yi, "Are you crazy? You're going to die. I don't want to follow you. You can leave, but what about all the lives you've killed?" Yi turned her head and looked at Linning coldly. As soon as Linning made eye contact with her, she hurriedly retracted her gaze and evaded. "What did you say? I don't understand." Hong Yin stood beside Yi Hao with a blank face. Yi Hao smiled and said, "It seems that Miss Yi already knew that someone's little trick was seen by her. I'm afraid that someone's self-directed hero, saving the beauty, is also a child's play in her eyes. Aren't you hiding it too? You were quite impressive when you killed people last night." Yi didn't deny Yi Hao's words. She looked at Yi Hao and sneered. "What do you mean?" Hong Yin was even more confused. The amount of information was a bit too much for him to digest all at once. "Did you kill my people?" Linning was shocked by Yi Hao's words. She glared at Yi Hao in disbelief. "That's impossible. You're only a 2nd-level spiritual emperor. How is that possible? And you were there when I came back last night. How could you have gone out?" Yi sheathed her sword and slapped Lin Ying's face. Linning couldn't help but fly towards the dragon in the sky. Before Linning was sent flying, he clearly heard Yi scold him as an idiot. He was dumbfounded. It turned out that Yi had been concealing her strength all along the way. If it wasn't for that, how could she have easily slapped him flying? Yi turned her head and looked coldly at Yi Hao and Hong Yin. She said softly, "Are you going to do it yourselves, or should I do it myself?" While Hong Yin was still in a daze, Yi had already turned around and flew straight towards the flood dragon in the sky. Before he left, he didn't forget to smile meaningfully at Hong Yin. "Third brother Hong, what are you waiting for? If we don't do anything, Miss Yi won't let us go." Hearing Yi Hao's words, Hong Yin suddenly understood. He looked at the indifferent Yi with a complicated expression. Then he lifted the giant axe in his hand and flew into the sky. Yi crossed her arms and looked at the 3 people and 1 dragon fighting in the sky. Her lips curled into a mocking sneer. Linning was the first to passively challenge the flood dragon in the sky. Then it was Yi Hao and Hong Yin who were passively attacked. The flood dragon looked at the 3 black dots in front of it and was very angry. This group of people had already disturbed its peace, and now they even dared to come in front of it and provoke its dragon power. Therefore, it was furious. It clawed forward, wanting to tear these 3 ignorant black dots into pieces. The 3 of them hurriedly retreated, not wanting to fight it head-on. You love to read, right? After Linning retreated, he quickly ran away, wanting to get away from this troublesome place. Before he could take 2 steps, he was slapped back again. He looked angrily at Yi, who had just returned to the ground, and his heart was filled with unspeakable anger. Yi Hao smiled and comforted him. "Don't struggle. Yi has the cultivation of a 4th-level spiritual emperor. With your ability, you can't escape. Just focus on dealing with the evil dragon. If you defeat the evil dragon, maybe that person will let you go." "Defeat the evil dragon?" Linning snorted. "I'm afraid that even if I defeat the evil dragon, she still won't let me go." This damn bitch, don't wait for me to escape. Otherwise, I'll make sure she dies a horrible death. Yi is not a bitch. Hong Yin abandoned the evil dragon and swung his axe at Lin Ying, who was speaking viciously. Are you crazy? The one who trapped us here is Yi. Even so, she has her difficulties. What difficulties does she have? Hong Yin, you're still speaking for her at this time. You're really incorrigible. No matter what, you have no right to scold her. Just as the two were arguing, the flood dragon swung its tail and swung it over. Yi Hao grabbed Hong Yan's collar and easily dodged the flood dragon's attack. Unfortunately, Lin Ying was not so lucky. The flood dragon's huge strength sent him flying. He hit the surface of the lake and sank to the bottom. Then, Lin Ying flew out from the bottom of the lake and met the flood dragon's sharp claws. Lin Ying wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and shouted at Yi, who had just returned to the shore, Yi, don't go too far. Yi's response was still indifferent. I told you not to struggle. Focusing on dealing with the evil dragon is the right thing to do, Yi Hao said casually from the side. Brat, what right do you have to say that to me? Yi is fine, but you're not worthy. With that, Lin Ying threw a palm forward. Unexpectedly, Yi Hao stepped on his face, and he quickly fell to the bottom of the lake. Hong Yin looked at Yi Hao in surprise and said, Brother Sangao, so you've been hiding your strength too. Lin Ying, who had just been thrown out from the bottom of the lake by Yi, was really scared now. He covered his swollen, handsome face and did not dare to say another word. Yi Hao reached out with his right hand, and a fiery red sword appeared in his hand. He faced the flood dragon and flew forward. He laughed and said, How can we not have some tricks up our sleeves? Yi Hao smiled and held out his sword. He said softly, Phoenix dances in the ninth heaven. Sword 1. Phoenix emerges. Yi Hao flew into the air and gently waved the Wu Dao sword in his hand. Then, a fiery red phoenix slowly opened its eyes behind him. Ding dong, congratulations to Master for using the first move of Phoenix dances in the ninth heaven. You're rewarded with a cloud-chasing pill. Then, the fiery red phoenix flapped its wings and flew toward the roaring flood dragon. On the shore, Yi looked seriously at Yi Hao's sword technique. She felt that the power of Yi Hao's sword technique was close to the peak attack of a third-level spiritual emperor. Chapter 14:27. In fact, she did have a master, but he did not die at the hands of the flood dragon. Instead, he died at the hands of a powerful force. For this reason, she could only work hard to cultivate and avenge her master. Recently, she had encountered a bottleneck in her cultivation, so she wanted to use the Dragon Ball to break through the bottleneck. That was why she set up such a big game of chess. However, she did not expect that Lin Ying would be so intolerant of others that there were only 4 people left in the mighty team. However, the development of the situation was still under her control, so she was happy to watch from the sidelines. Hong Yin and Lin Ying, who were closer, were far more shocked than Yi. At the same time, the two of them had a feeling that if this sword style was used on them, they would definitely die. Yi Hao sheathed his sword and stood up straight. His fiery red eyes were burning with a desire to fight. Along the way, Yi Hao not only did chores like collecting firewood and water, but also secretly practiced the moves of Phoenix dances in the ninth heaven. Previously, he had only heard the system bragging about how powerful Phoenix dances in the ninth heaven was, but he had not tried it himself. This time, he could use the flood dragon to test it. Roar! The black flood dragon seemed to have felt a great threat. With a roar, several water pillars shot up into the sky from the lake. These water pillars intersected with each other, forming a huge water shield in front of the flood dragon. As soon as the fire phoenix touched the water shield, the huge water shield turned into steam and disappeared. The flood dragon stretched out its claws and fought with the burning phoenix. After a few rounds, the phoenix cried out sadly and was torn apart by the flood dragon. Roar! After tearing the phoenix apart, the flood dragon roared at Yi Hao proudly. Hong Yin shouted, Brother Sangao, be careful. Seeing the flood dragon, Yi Hao retreated instead of advancing. He looked up to the sky and shouted, Good, evil beast, die. Holding the sword with both hands, he flew to the flood dragon's head and stabbed it. Unexpectedly, the flood dragon's scales were too hard. Instead of piercing through, he was slapped down by the flood dragon's claws and smashed to the shore with a dragon tail swing. Yi, who was on the shore, saw Yi Hao flying towards her. Without any explanation, she lifted her leg and kicked Yi Hao into the mouth of the flood dragon. Yi Hao's whole body spun in the air. He could not escape the flood dragon's bloody mouth. Seeing that Yi Hao was about to fly into the flood dragon's mouth, Hong Yin held a giant axe and chopped at the flood dragon's head. The flood dragon's head, Hong Yin, immediately fly behind Yi Hao's body. Haha, I told you that B asterisk TCH is a B asterisk TCH. Lin Ying, looking at Yi Hao's hands, and began to ridicule him. Lin, Hong Yin said, Yi, Lin Yan's Yin, Yi Hong Yin Yi's Lin. Lin's Hong Yin Yi kick of Lin Yin kill Yi attack. Yi Hao, who had attacked in anger, didn't stop there. He dodged the flood dragon's attack and kicked Lin Ying hard. Just like that, Lin Ying was like a rubber ball, spinning back and forth under Yi Hao and Yi's feet. Brother Sangao, I was wrong. I won't do it again. Forgive me, I won't say anything bad about you again. If this goes on, I'll be crippled. Brother Sangao, please forgive me. Hong Yin looked at Lin Ying's wailing appearance and smiled like a flower. Who asked you to speak nonsense? You deserve it. Obviously, he was very satisfied that Yi Hao stood up for him. Roar! The flood dragon stretched out its claw. Yi Hao hurriedly dodged, but Lin Ying was kicked into the air by Yi. Lin Ying, who was still spinning in the air, was slapped to the ground by the flood dragon. At this time, the flood dragon seemed to be a little abnormal. It was no longer as calm as before and began to take the initiative to attack more often. At the same time, Yi Hao also noticed that there was a trace of lightning on the flood dragon's body. On the shore, after Yi kicked Lin Ying into the air, she also noticed this slight change. She said with a serious expression, "Not good. The flood dragon is about to transform. If it succeeds, its strength will increase greatly. Then we won't be its match." After Yi said that, the flood dragon began to attack everywhere. It was as if it could not be disturbed when it was about to transform. Therefore, it wanted to kill all the troublemakers one by one before that happened. Yi Hao dodged the flood dragon's attack and said, if you want to transform and evolve, you have to get my permission first. Yi Hao raised his Wu Dao sword. The sword shone with a red light, and gradually, the shadows of two fire phoenixes appeared behind Yi Hao. A smile appeared on Yi Hao's face as he shouted, "Phoenix Dance of the Nine Heavens. Second move, Phoenix Birth." Yi Hao gently thrust out his Wu Dao sword, and the two fire phoenixes charged towards the black flood dragon that was spitting out lightning. Lin Ying and Hong Yin, who had just stood still, could not stand this strong power and retreated slightly. Yi, who was on the shore, finally pulled out her sword. It was a Cloud Soul sword that looked soft but was abnormally hard. Yi held the Cloud Soul sword tightly and aimed at the target in the sky. But her target was not the flood dragon that was fighting with the phoenixes. Instead, it was Yi Hao who had just used up most of his spirit energy and was trying to recover. Ding dong! Congratulations to the host for using the second move of Phoenix Dance Ninth Heaven. The reward is a golden silk soft armor. Spirit Emperor level golden silk soft armor. Yi Hao was puzzled. Then, he felt a layer of soft but hard armor under his clothes. At this time, a sense of danger rose in his heart. Yi Hao raised his left hand and put a pill to his mouth. Just as he did this, he saw Yi, who had been biding her time on the shore, appear in front of him. Yi's expression was calm as she stabbed her sword. Cloud's soul spell go die. Yi Hao could have dodged this move, but for some reason, after being locked onto by the sword, his body froze and he could not move. Yi's sword pierced Yi Hao's abdomen, and an ice-cold chill invaded Yi Hao's internal organs. Yi Hao, who was stabbed, was smashed into the bottom of the lake and disappeared. After Yi stabbed Yi Hao to death, she looked at Lin Ying and Hong Yin as if nothing had happened. Lin Ying met her gaze, and felt as if she had fallen into an ice cave. Just as she had the thought of running away, it was cut off, and Hong Yin, who met Yi Yi's gaze, felt very unfamiliar. This was a completely different person from Yi Yi who had accompanied them all the way. Although she was cold, she was talking and laughing. Yi Yi held the Cloud Soul Sword and looked at the Phoenix Shadow that was fighting with the Flood Dragon. With a bang, the Phoenix Shadow instantly collapsed. Yi Yi said coldly to Lin Ying and Hong Yin, "You can choose to run, but I can guarantee that you will die a worse death than Yi Sangao." Chapter 1428. Hearing this, Lin Ying's face was filled with fear, while Hong Yan's face turned serious. Yi Yi snorted and stepped forward with her sword in hand. Perhaps without the supervision of their master, the two fire phoenixes, whose combined strength was enough to fight against a fourth-level spirit emperor, began to lose their strength. Soon, they were torn into pieces by the ferocious flood dragon. Although the flood dragon won, it was not in a good situation. Its strength had been depleted by 60 to 70%, but it did not forget to show its competitive nature and roar to show off its strength to Yi Hao. Unfortunately, Yi Hao was no longer there. What welcomed it was a cold and emotionless sword. The long sword cut through the hard scales on the flood dragon's head as if it was cutting vegetables and melons, piercing straight into its head. Roar! Yi Yi pulled out the sword, and the flood dragon came out in pain, blood splattering everywhere. The flood dragon looked at the approaching Yi Yi, and its big eyes kept turning. It was not thinking about how to take revenge, but how to quickly escape from here. If it fought against Yi Yi with its peak strength, it would not be afraid. But now, if it dragged on, it would only become a dead dragon. Moreover, it was about to transform, so it did not want to give away the cultivation that it had accumulated all these years to someone else. Therefore, after it roared ferociously, it turned around and ran. Yi seemed to have seen through its intentions and sneered. "Evil creature, where are you going?" The Cloud Soul Sword spun in her hand, and a few thick pillars of water shot up into the sky and turned into ice pillars to block the flood dragon's path. The flood dragon roared and tried to smash the icicles with its claw. Unexpectedly, when the dragon's claw hit the icicles remained intact, and the dragon's claw couldn't be pulled back. Not only that, but the huge dragon's claw was slowly covered in ice. Soon, the huge dragon's claw was completely frozen. Seeing this, Yi Yi sneered and sneered. "Idiot! How can my ice pillars be compared to ordinary ice pillars? They are infused with the extreme cold of the Cloud Soul Art. Even if you're a fourth-level Spirit Emperor, you still can't escape death." Yi Yi threw the Cloud Soul Sword in her hand onto the surface of the lake. That slender Cloud Soul Sword did not sink to the bottom of the lake. Instead, it stood quietly on the surface of the lake. Yi Yi's hands quickly formed a seal. Suddenly, the surface of the lake shook violently. Then, water pillars that were thicker than the previous ones rose into the sky from all directions of the lake. They moved in an arc, and finally, all the water pillars connected to form a huge cage, trapping the flood dragon in it. What was worth noting was that this huge cage was slowly shrinking as time passed, and it was also compressing the space that the flood dragon could move about in. Yi Yi's eyes shot out two rays of cold light, her lips moving slightly. Cloud Soul Spell Cage. Roar, roar, roar. No matter how the flood dragon roared in the cage, it could not remove the ice on its claws, nor could it leave the cage that was getting smaller and smaller. Yi Yi waved her jade-like hand, and that slender Cloud Soul Sword returned to her hand. Ever since the Cloud Soul Sword returned to her hand, the speed at which the cage was shrinking became faster and faster. The flood dragon was not willing to be trapped like this. It used its spiritual energy that had recovered by 60% and roared with all its might. A ball of lightning that was the size of a baby's head and was emitting purple lightning slowly formed in the flood dragon's mouth. Yi Yi threw the Cloud Soul Sword in her hand into the air, and the sword tip was aimed at the flood dragon's head. At the same time, All the spiritual energy in her body was continuously channeled into the cloud's soul sword that was getting bigger and bigger. Just a trapped beast putting up a fight, Dai. Yi's long black hair fluttered without any wind, and the purple lightning ball in the flood dragon's mouth shot out. The huge cloud soul sword and the lightning ball that was emitting purple lightning clashed together. The huge explosion caused by the collision of the two caused Hong Yin and Yi, who were standing at the side, to lose their balance. It also caused the surrounding trees to break inch by inch, and even caused the lake below them to ripple. Only Yi was still standing there firmly, and her body did not move at all. After the explosion, the cage had completed its task. It completely wrapped the flood dragon's huge body in it and even froze it. Yi moved lightly and walked to the flood dragon's side. She looked at the flood dragon's huge eyes that were still open even when it died, and said to herself, "This trip is really thanks to you guys. Otherwise, I would have to lie in bed for a year and a half if I were to forcefully take this Dragon Ball." After seeing Yi's true strength, Linning didn't dare to speak, but Hong Yin stood up. At the same time, Linning admired his courage. Hong Yin said angrily to Yi, "Why did you kill Brother Sangao? He is just a tool. I naturally have to throw him away after using him." Yi glanced at Hong Yin indifferently and continued, "Not only him, but you guys are also the same. Missy, please wait. Brother Sangao doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He is a useless tool, but we are different. We still have value. Missy won't kill us, right?" Linning was shocked when he heard Yi's remarks. He quickly came out and said. Yi glanced casually at Hong Yin, who was in a daze, and said playfully, "Oh, still have value. I really don't see any value in you guys. Serving tea and water, collecting firewood, and running errands, we can do it all. We just ask Missy to spare our lowly lives." Now Linning had lowered his posture very much. He no longer had the handsome demeanor from before. Now he just wanted to kneel down and call Yi Grandaunt. He just wanted to spare his life. At the same time, Linning also pulled Hong Yin, who was in a daze, to let him lower his head and admit defeat. Unfortunately, Hong Yin was unmoved. Yi laughed. "It seems that things are not as you said." Then she said again, "Okay, I still have use for you guys. I won't kill you for the time being. When I take out this dragon pearl, you guys will follow me." "Okay, thank you, Missy. Thank you, Missy." After learning that he would not die for the time being, Linning hurriedly said gratefully. Now, he no longer dared to have any ideas about Yi. He just wanted to be as far away from this crazy woman as possible. Yi straightened her expression and looked at the frozen flood dragon. A smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. She stretched out the cloud's soul sword and patted on the ice twice quietly. Boom! The huge block of ice suddenly shattered into pieces, and the huge flood dragon also fell to the surface of the lake. Yi stepped forward quickly and went straight to the abdomen of the flood dragon. She broke it open with her sword. Suddenly, her eyes widened. She said in a deep voice, "How is it possible? It is about to transform into a dragon. How can there be no dragon pearl? How is it possible?" Suddenly, a figure quietly appeared behind her and whispered, "Are you looking for this thing?" Chapter 1429. Hearing this, Yi suddenly turned her head, only to see the unprepossessing young man who had just died under her sword suddenly appear in front of her. Not only that, in his hand was the black dragon pearl that she had been dreaming of. So this is the Dragon Ball. It doesn't look like much. Yi Hao gently tossed the black bead in his hand and looked playfully at Yi, who was holding back her anger in her chest. "Brother Sangao, you didn't die." Seeing Yi Hao come back from the dead, Hong Yin couldn't help but be very happy. He hurriedly came to Yi Hao's side and gave him a big bear hug. Linning, on the other hand, looked at Yi Hao, who appeared here unscathed, and said in surprise, "This kid didn't die. How is it possible? Yi is so strong, but she didn't kill him? Unless his strength is higher than Yi. Oh my God, what kind of monsters are these two? No, I have to leave this place quickly." Unexpectedly, Linning had just taken 2 steps when Yi Hao appeared in front of him in a flash. Linning didn't even see Yi Hao's figure clearly. "Did I say you could leave?" Yi Hao imitated Lin Ying's appearance and smiled gently. Then he kicked Lin Ying's abdomen. Lin Ying's face was distorted as he clutched his abdomen and crashed into a tree not far away. Yi Hao appeared in front of Yi again and said to Hong Yin, "Brother Hong San, help me look after that kid. Don't let him run away." "Okay," Hong Yin responded. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly stopped and looked at Yi Hao with some embarrassment. Yi Hao patted Hong Yan's shoulder and said quietly, "Brother Hong, don't worry. I know what to do with your woman." Hong Yin was overjoyed when he heard this and left. Even though Yi Hao's voice was very low, Yi, who was a 4th-level spirit emperor, heard it clearly. Yi said coldly, "I, Yi, am not anyone's woman." Yi Hao spread his hands and said with a smile, "I'm not talking about you. Why are you in such a hurry to defend yourself? Could it be that you're secretly in love with my 3rd brother? You're courting death." Yi Hao put away the dragon pearl and held the Wu Dao sword in front of his chest to block Yi's soft attack. Yi's eyes grew colder. She looked at Yi Hao and said slowly, "I, Yi, am not anyone's woman in this lifetime. I am myself. Do as you wish. However, I clearly remember the sword that you stabbed me with. Although I, Yi Sangao, am a person, I am not someone who would repay evil with kindness. Today, I will make you suffer a bit. That's exactly what I want. I'll kill you and take the Dragon Ball." Then, a man and a woman fiercely collided. As time passed, sword light gushed out one after another. It was brilliant. On the other side, Linning, who got up from the ground and was about to escape while the two were fighting, was blocked by a burly man with a giant axe. "Linning, where are you going? It's none of your business. Get out of my way. Since that's the case, then I can't leave." Mountain axe. With a swing of the axe, the 2 figures, one strong and one thin, were fighting again. Yi Hao swung his sword away from Yi, who was approaching him. In a flash, he came behind Yi and directly stabbed with his sword. Yi quietly dodged and avoided Yi Hao's attack. She looked at Yi Hao's speed and couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Her cultivation was clearly higher than Yi Hao's, but she could only capture Yi Hao's afterimage. She couldn't help but ask, "You really are hiding a lot of things. When you were fighting with the dragon, you weren't this fast." Yi Hao used his speed advantage to confuse her and answered, "Of course. How can I not have some trump cards in my hands when I'm out here?" Yi Hao looked calm, but he only wanted to curse in his heart. The reason why he didn't die and was so fast was all thanks to the system's reward. After using the 2nd sword technique of Phoenix dances in the 9th heaven, he was rewarded with a set of golden silk soft armor. However, before he could use it, Yi's sword came. In order to block Yi's full blow, the golden silk soft armor was completely destroyed. And the reward for using the 1st sword technique of Phoenix dances in the 9th heaven was a pill called Cloud Chasing Pill. It could quickly increase the user's speed in a short period of time. This was also the reason why Yi could only capture an afterimage, even though her cultivation was higher than Yi Hao's. Yi Hao looked at Yi, who was standing still, and felt a little anxious. There's not much time left. I have to hurry. Yi stood still very cautiously, not daring to reveal a single flaw, because she knew that as long as she revealed a single flaw, the man who attacked like a poisonous scorpion would definitely not let go of such a great opportunity. Yi Hao and Yi were in a deadlock. On the other side, Hong Yin and Lin Ying's situation was completely different. In the beginning, Hong Yin and Lin Ying were evenly matched, but as time went on, it was Hong Yin who was chasing after Lin Ying while Lin Ying was begging for mercy. In fact, with Lin Ying's cultivation and strength, he wouldn't go so far as to beg for mercy. However, he knew that he didn't have much time left. If he couldn't get past Hong Yin as soon as possible, he wouldn't be able to escape death when Yi Sangao and Lin Ying finished fighting. Especially Yi Sangao. Thinking back to when he ordered Yi Sangao to gather firewood and water, he did a lot of bad things to Yi Sangao. If he waited until Yi Sangao was free, he would be dead for sure. Thinking of this, Lin Ying's intestines turned green with regret. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have lusted after beauty and gotten involved in this mess. Now, he was really at a dead end. He couldn't cry for help. Lin Ying dodged Hong Yan's attack and shouted, "Hong Yan, don't go too far. A rabbit will bite when cornered, and a dog will jump over a wall when cornered. If you push me too far, I'll take you down with me." Hong Yan looked indifferent. "Hey, who said I'm going to take you down? I just need to hold you back. You big guy, you usually look quite stupid. Why aren't you stupid today? Who are you calling a fool?" Hong Yan's face sank, and he increased the strength in his hand. Lin Ying was in great pain. "I owe Brother Hong Sangao I was wrong. You're a great man, so don't stoop to my level. Mother, it hurts. Grandpa Hong, I beg you, let me live. Lin Ying, will definitely repay you in the future. Grandpa Hong, don't. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I beg you, let me pass." Even though Lin Ying was crying and begging for mercy, Hong Yan didn't budge in the slightest. He still stood there with his giant axe, not letting Lin Ying pass. "Hong Sangao, you've gone too far. I'll kill you." Lin Ying saw that Hong Yan wasn't moved by force or persuasion. He roared and wanted to fight Hong Yan to the death. Chapter 1430. At this moment, the violent sound coming from the sky attracted the attention of both of them. They looked up and saw two fire phoenixes and an ice dragon formed from lake water, colliding violently. After a cloud of smoke, one person was standing while the other landed on the shore. Hong Yan looked at the figure on the shore and hurriedly rushed over. Lin Ying saw this and knew that his chance to escape had come, so he quickly left this troublesome place. However, he had only taken 2 steps when his legs suddenly turned to jelly and he knelt on the ground. At this moment, Yi Hao slowly descended from the sky with the Wu Dao sword in his hand and walked towards Lin Ying. Lin Ying knelt on the ground without a word, trembling all over. Yi Hao came in front of him and waved his left hand. 2 small flying swords the length of a thumb slowly left Lin Ying's feet and landed on Yi Hao's palm, spinning around. Yi Hao looked at Lin Ying and said, "Run? Do you think you can run?" Bang, bang, bang. Lin Ying did not say a word. She raised her noble forehead and touched the hard sand on the ground. Yi Hao smiled coldly and did not speak. "Brother Sangao, I was blind and not recognize you. I beg you to let me go. Can you not kill me and spare my life? Let me serve tea and water, pick up firewood and start fire. I only beg you to spare my life. I swear to you, Brother Sangao, that I, Lin Ying, am willing to be your servant for the rest of my life. I will never betray you." As Lin Ying kowtowed, his lively mind also gradually sank. At first, he wanted Yi Hao to let him go. Later on, he wanted to spare his life. Later on, he degraded himself and was willing to be a servant. However, no matter what he said, Yi Hao was not moved. Yi Hao grabbed him by the collar and lifted him into the air. He smiled and said, "It seems that you are very afraid of death." Yes. I am still young, and I don't want to die. I still have a bright future ahead of me." Yi Hao looked at Lin Ying's cowardly appearance and sneered. He directly dragged Lin Ying to the ground and walked towards Hong Yan. At the same time, he said softly, "Your life and death is not up to me to decide for now." Hong Yan looked at the unconscious Yi in his arms and felt very anxious. When he saw Yi Hao walking over, before he could say anything, Yi Hao interrupted him. "Don't worry, it's fine. Didn't I tell you that I know what to do for your woman?" With that, Yi Hao casually tossed Lin Ying to the side. With a wave of his hand, 4 flying swords flew out of Lin Ying's body. Yi Hao waved his sleeve and put away the flying sword he snatched from exiled immortal. At the same time, Yi suddenly woke up and spat out a mouthful of black blood. Her pale face gradually recovered. She looked at Yi Hao and said coldly, "I'm not as good as you. You win." Yi Hao put his hands behind his back and smiled. "I was just lucky. You won. Tell me, what do you want?" Yi Hao smiled and took out the black dragon pearl and handed it to Yi. Yi's body trembled and she asked in confusion, "What do you mean?" "Your cultivation has reached a bottleneck. This dragon pearl is of great use to you, but it's not so important to me. Therefore, I'm giving it to you. Oomph. What do you mean by giving it to me? It's mine. Yi snorted and grabbed it. Her expression softened a little as she asked, "Tell me, what are your conditions?" Yihao sighed softly and said, "Alas, it's so easy to talk to smart people. Say it." Yihao straightened his face and said word by word, "I want you to submit to me." Yi and Hong Yin looked at Yihao in shock. "Brother Sangao, are you serious?" Yihao looked at Hong Yin and said, "Do I look like I'm joking? Why should I?" He said indifferently, "If it's just because of this dragon pearl, then forget it. I'll return the dragon pearl to you." "Return it to me?" Yihao said with a playful look. "If you return it to me, you can leave here alive." "Brother Sangao, what do you mean?" Hong Yin was furious. "I've always treated you as a brother. If you do this, don't blame me for falling out with you." Yihao didn't look at Hong Yin. He looked at Yihao with a smile. "Give me a reason." Yi's expression turned from cold to calm. "Reason? It's very simple. Because I'm Yi Sangao from Tianyuan New City." "Ah." Hong Yin was stunned. Yi was deep in thought. Yihao chuckled and took out a dragon-shaped token and threw it into Yi's arms. Yi looked at the dragon-shaped token in her arms and came to a realization. She thought carefully and said in a deep voice, "What can you give me if I submit to you? Help you take revenge." Yihao paced slowly and said in detail, "When you came to this lake, your expression was still normal. You didn't show any other expression. This means that your so-called master didn't die in the hands of the flood dragon. You came here to take the dragon pearl and improve your realm. Because your enemy is very powerful. With your current strength, it's no different from suicide. Am I right?" Yi looked at Yihao's spirited expression. For the first time, she really looked at this ordinary-looking young man in front of her. Without hesitation, she knelt on the ground and said in a deep voice, "Yi is willing to submit." "Ah." Hong Yin and Lin Ying were dumbfounded. "What's going on? Why did Yi submit to Yi Sangao all of a sudden?" "Very good. Raise your head." Yi raised her head. Yihao moved his mind, and a cloud of black earth fiend chi went into Yi's mind. Yi sensed it carefully and found nothing unusual. Hong Yin said anxiously, "Yi Sangao, what did you do to Yi?" Yihao smiled and said, "Brother Hong, don't be agitated. This thing won't do Yi any harm. Of course, the premise is that she can keep her promise with me and won't betray me. I will keep my promise with you. I hope you can keep your promise too." "Of course." At this moment, Yi looked at Lin Ying, who was kneeling beside her. Lin Ying quickly looked away after meeting Yi's eyes. She trembled and did not dare to look at him. "What do you want to do with him?" "Isn't that what I want to ask you?" "Ask me?" Yi was a little confused. "Yes. Didn't he kill so many of your companions?" "Of course I want to ask you. Take it as my sincerity to you." Lin Ying crawled to Yi and begged for mercy. "Yi, let me go. You just promised me that you won't kill me for the time being, right?" Yi glanced at Lin Ying's fearful expression. After hesitating, she said, "Let him go." Lin Ying was overjoyed when he heard the words. Yihao was taken aback. Hong Yin was also stunned. "Let him go. Are you sure?" Yihao confirmed with Yi. Yi nodded. "I promised him that I won't kill him." "All right then." Yihao spread his hands and acquiesced. "Thank you. Thank you, Miss Yi. Thank you." Lin Ying hurriedly thanked her, then dragged his injured body and left with difficulty. Not long after, a small flying sword passed through his head and then flew back into Yihao's sleeve. Lin Ying's eyes widened, and he died with doubts. "What do you mean?" Lin Yi looked puzzled and said, "Didn't you say that you let him go?" "That's what you said." "I didn't say that." Yihao looked at the two puzzled people and explained, "This kind of person can't be left alive. If you let him go 1 second ago, he will bring a large group of people to take your life in the next second. Let him go. Isn't it like letting the tiger return to the mountain?" Yi and Hong Yin fell into silence. Yihao glanced at the sky. It was already late. He said, "Okay, it's getting late. I have to hurry. You go to Tianyuan New City and find a person named Hu Sanyang. Take this jade pendant and tell her that Yi Sangao asked you to find her. She will know what to do after hearing it." Where are you going? Qingshan Empire, Heavenly Street Conference. Just as Yi was about to say something, Yihao had already left. Hong Yin asked cautiously, Sanyang, where are we going now? Are we really going to Tianyuan New City? Yi responded and embarked on the journey. Hong Yin asked, I don't think Brother Sangao is an ordinary person. Who is he? Yi chuckled and said, Yi Sangao? Sangao. Together they form the word Hao. He is the emperor of Tianyuan Empire, Yi Hao. Hong Yin looked at Yi's smiling face with infatuation. As for what Yi said just now, he didn't hear a single word clearly. On the way, Yi Hao, who was empty-handed, picked a wild fruit out of boredom and nibbled it with relish. At this time, the system's familiar voice sounded in his mind. I really don't understand. Why did you give the flood dragon to that woman? In this way, your mission failed and the reward is gone. Yi Hao said indifferently, if it's gone, then it's gone. I got a 5th-level Spirit Emperor and a 3rd-level Spirit Emperor. It doesn't seem like a loss. Isn't it just the woman who got the Dragon Ball? How could there be a 3rd-level Spirit Emperor? What a braggart. The system said angrily. That's not necessarily true. Brother Hong San likes Yi so much. He might go to Tianyuan New City. That's why you didn't force Hong Yin. That's right. Yi Hao threw away the core of the fruit in his hand and said, just take it as a favor for Brother Hong San to help me several times. That's pretty good. The sky was dark. A group of rich men in luxurious clothes came to the lakeside where a fierce battle had just taken place. They were followed by a group of stooped old men. One of the stooped old men found Lin Ying's body on the shore and carried it back to the group of rich men. Then he said, Master, we found Master Lin Ying's body. One of the rich men, who was wearing a brocade robe and seemed to be the leader, said in disdain, Bastards will always be bastards. They can't even handle a woman. What a waste. Where did those guys go? This way. The stooped old man pointed. Then the group of people walked on the mountain road that Yi Hao had just walked on. Chapter 1431. After Yi Hao completed the quest to kill the flood dragon, he was bored, so he entered the quest system to see if there were any other side quests. As he browsed through the quest list, he suddenly saw a quest to refine pills. He accepted it without hesitation. Ding dong! Congratulations to host for accepting the quest to refine the 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Pill. Please complete it within 3 days, or the quest will fail. Yi Hao looked at the pill recipe in his mind and smiled. System, refining pills shouldn't be that difficult, right? Master, don't look down on the 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Pill. The refining process is extremely difficult. The system reminded him after hearing Yi Hao's words. Yi Hao looked at the pill recipe and frowned. It seems the ingredients are a bit hard to find. Looks like I'll have to put in some effort. Master, there's a large city up ahead. You can go there and see if there's anything you need. That's exactly what I wanted. Yi Hao looked at the towering city in the distance, and a knowing smile appeared on his face. He said, System, can you help me check where I can find the pills I need in the city? Sorry, the level is too low. I can't complete the host request. What a piece of trash. What did you say? It wasn't easy for a spirit to be born. I thought it would be useful, but can't do anything. If it's not trash, then what is it? Yi Hao realized that sometimes the system needed to be stimulated. Isn't that because you're too weak? Otherwise, the entire Chaos Realm would be yours. Qingshan Empire, Celestial Cloud Pavilion Yuan Mu's courtyard, was much more deserted than usual. This was because of the new Celestial Cloud Pavilion's young pavilion master, Yuan Shu's orders. Not only did Yuan Shu withdraw all of Yuan Mu's guards, he also had banished Immortal bring 2 jars of good wine to visit Yuan Mu from time to time. Although it was called a visit, it was actually to monitor him. Today, as usual, banished Immortal brought 2 jars of good wine and walked into Yuan Mu's study without knocking. At this moment, Yuan Mu was teaching Mu Tao, the child beside him, how to write. When banished Immortal saw this scene, he couldn't help but laugh. Mu Tao, who was practicing her calligraphy, threw her brush aside and glared at banished Immortal. What are you laughing at? Banished immortal casually found a place to sit down and placed the wine on the wooden table. He calmly said, "Ridiculous, truly ridiculous. A blind man has the nerve to teach others how to write. Can you see?" Banished immortal, shut up. Mutao angrily slammed the table. At the same time, she carefully looked at Yuan Mu. Seeing that there was nothing strange, she continued, "I knew you wouldn't come with good intentions. My young master isn't feeling well today. You should leave quickly." Exiled immortal sat on the chair and looked at the master and servant with a smile. He didn't say anything. Yuan Mu smiled indifferently and said, "Everyone is a guest. Mutao, don't be rude. Drink the tea." "Yes," Mutao replied obediently. Then she went to fetch a pot of tea. Banished immortal gently pushed the tea away and smiled. "Young Master Mu doesn't need to trouble himself. Young Master Shu ordered me to bring 2 pots of good wine for young Master Mu to taste." Yuan Mu calmly sat on the chair and said, "Thank you for your trouble, Lord Banished Immortal. I accept your kind intentions. If Lord Banished Immortal doesn't have anything else, I'm a bit tired and will go rest." Then Mutao came to Yuan Mu's side. "Young Master Mu, wait." Banished Immortal interrupted them. He stood up and slammed the wine on the table in front of Yuan Mu. He said word by word, "Young Master Shu said that good wine should be tasted in time. Otherwise, it won't taste good anymore. Banished Immortal, you've gone too far." Mutao couldn't help but feel indignant for her young master. Banished Immortal ignored her and stared straight at Yuan Mu. Yuan Mu smiled indifferently and ordered, "Mutao, go fetch a wine cup." "Young master?" Mutao didn't move. She clearly didn't want to. "Mutao, you won't even listen to your young master? Go." "Yes, young master." Yuan Mu opened a jug of wine and smelled it. He praised, "It's indeed good wine." Then he poured a cup and drank it in one gulp. He gently placed the empty cup on the table and smiled. Yuan Mu, have already drunk this wine. Lord Banished Immortal, you can go back and report." Banished Immortal didn't see anything strange. He waved his sleeve and said, "I've disturbed young Master Mu today. Goodbye." "Mutao, see the guest out." Mutao worriedly glanced at Yuan Mu. Seeing him wave his hand, she led Banished Immortal out of the courtyard. Just as Banished Immortal stepped out of the courtyard, Yuan Mu pointed his finger at his throat. "Wah!" He spat out the cup of wine he had just drunk. At that moment, a black figure wearing a bronze mask appeared in front of Yuan Mu. Yuan Mu asked in a normal tone, "Did you find out?" The black figure knelt on the ground and respectfully said, "I did. The Heavenly Street meeting was brought forward because of Yuan Shu's instigation." "I know. How is he?" "On the surface, we received news that he's still in New Tianyuan City. In reality, he's already left the city. If nothing unexpected happens, he'll appear in the Heavenly Street meeting in 3 months. Anything else? Our people have been following him. He recently appeared in the Earth Lung mountain range and killed a flood dragon." "That's more like it." Hearing this, a smile appeared on Yuan Mu's pale face. He said, "Keep a close eye on him. Don't let anything unexpected happen." "Yes, young master, young master." At that moment, Mutao's voice came from outside the study, interrupting their conversation. Yuan Mu waved his hand, and the figure quietly disappeared into the shadows in the corner of the room. Yuan Mu stopped smiling and asked, "What's wrong, Mutao?" Mutao hastily ran over and looked at the wine Yuan Mu just spat out. She felt relieved and said, "Banished Immortal's wine must be poisonous." Mutao was afraid something would happen to young master. "Don't worry. Aren't I fine?" "Young master, that Yuan Shu has gone too far. Do you plan on waiting for death?" "Come, Mutao. Today, I'll teach you a new character." Okay. Mutao sat on a chair in the study. Yuan Mu had Mutao hold the brush while he grabbed Mutao's hand and wrote the character Endure on a thin piece of paper. In Yuan Shu's study, Banished Immortal respectfully knelt on the ground. Yuan Shu played with the dagger in his hand and asked softly, "Did Yuan Mu drink the wine?" "He drank it. This little one saw it with my own eyes." "Very good." Yuan Shu stabbed the dagger into the table and sneered, When Yuan Mu dies, I'll see who you old bastard will hand the position of pavilion master to. If you want to hand the immortal cloud pavilion to that blind man, you'll have to see if the blade in my hand agrees. Chapter 1432. Lishan's City. Yi Hao stood at the city gate and glanced at the 3 words hanging above the city gate before entering the city. Lishan City was the 3rd largest city in the Qingshan Empire. Entering this city meant that Yi Hao had entered the Qingshan Empire. Everyone said that the Qingshan Empire was built on top of Qingshan, but that was not accurate. To be precise, the Qingshan Empire's capital was built on top of Qingshan. As for the other cities, they were scattered all around Green Mountain. Otherwise, if news of a huge 5th-rank empire with only the size of Green Mountain spread out, it would be ridiculous. Although Lishan City was far from the Qingshan Empire's capital, the economic strength of this city had always been one of the best in the empire. In addition, when the city was first built, it occupied a vast area and had many people. It was located in a fortress, so it gradually developed into the 3rd largest city in the Qingshan Empire. After Yi Hao entered the city, he realized that the streets were filled with people. The hawkers were also grinning from ear to ear. Yi Hao found a hawker and asked for the location of the largest medicine shop in the city. Then he rushed over. He had to refine the 9-fire heavenly spirit pill in 3 days. There was not much time left for him, so he could not afford to waste any time. Heaven's Medicine Pavilion. Yi Hao followed the hawker's directions and arrived at the entrance of the largest medicine shop in Lishan City. Just as he was about to enter, he was stopped by the guards at the entrance. "Wait, do you have an invitation?" "Invitation? What invitation?" Yi Hao looked at them suspiciously. "I'm going in to buy medicinal ingredients. Do I need an invitation?" "Haha, where did this country bumpkin come from?" Suddenly, there was a burst of mocking laughter behind Yi Hao. Yi Hao turned his head and saw a fat man, who was dressed in gold and silver and weighed more than 100 kilograms, walking past him with a dozen servants. When they passed by, they even pushed him directly. It could be said that they were extremely arrogant. When the 2 guards saw the fat man, they said flatteringly, "Young Master Yin, you're here. Please come in." Young Master Yin smiled in satisfaction. Then he took out a handful of spirit stones from his robes and wantonly threw them at the 2 guards. The 2 guards were still smiling, as if they couldn't feel the slightest bit of pain. After the fatty had left, they still smiled and said, "Young Master Yin, are you leaving already? There's a little too little today. Why don't you have more?" "No, young master, I want to keep the money today. I have a big use for it." "All right, take care, young Master Yin." Yi Hao looked at this extremely comical and absurd scene, and he couldn't help but say coldly, "Wait, he doesn't seem to have an invitation token either." The 2 guards looked at him as if he was an idiot and mocked. "He's young Master Yin, the only son of fortune god Yin of Lishan City. You're just a pauper from another city. How can you compare to young Master Yin?" "Shoo, shoo, shoo. I'm in a good mood today. I don't want to argue with a fool like you. Scram as far as you can." The 2 guards waved their hands at Yi Hao impatiently. Yi Hao clenched his right fist and was about to fly into a rage when a white figure flashed in front of him. The figure took out 2 black tokens and handed them to the guards. "Say, this brother is my friend. He's new here and doesn't know the rules. Please forgive him. This is an invitation." The 2 guards took the black tokens and looked at them carefully, saying, "So it's young Master Wu. Young Master Wu, we 2 brothers can trust you. But young Master Wu, this brother of yours isn't very reassuring." "I understand." The pale-faced scholar named Young Master Wu took out a money pouch and stuffed it into the hands of the 2 guards. The 2 guards weighed the money pouch and said, "Young Master Wu is indeed generous. All right, let's go in." "Thank you." Young Master Wu clasped his hands, then pulled the stunned Yi Hao into Heaven's Medicine Pavilion. Yi Hao looked at the unfamiliar young Master Wu and asked, "Brother, we don't know each other. Why did you help me?" Young Master Wu gently smiled and replied, "I'm a person who likes to make friends. I saw that brother's temperament was extraordinary, and since you were in a hurry to enter Heaven's Medicine Pavilion, I figured you had something important to do. so I decided to help you. Right? Shouldn't you be thanking me? Why are you questioning me instead? Yi Hao laughed and clasped his hands, saying, "Many thanks for young Master Wu's help. No need to be so formal. My name is Wu Wenyong. You could just call me Wenyong. That's what my brothers all call me. All right, I'm called Yi Sangao. My heart is higher than the heavens, and my life is higher than the mountains. That's why I'm higher than Sangao." Sangao, what a good name. As Yi Hao walked, he chatted with Wu Wenyong. But as he walked, he realized that something was amiss. Although the Heavenly Medicine Pavilion was huge, they had not seen a single person after walking for so long. This could not help but be suspicious. "Brother Wenyong, why haven't we seen a single person after walking for so long?" Wu Wenyong was stunned. He held his forehead and said, "Brother, you couldn't have just come to Lishan City today, right?" "That's right. No wonder you didn't know." Wu Wenyong paused for a moment, then said, "Today is an important day for our Lishan City. Many nobles will come to Heaven's Medicine Pavilion, and Heaven's Medicine Pavilion's people have been sent out to serve those important people. Today's security is also much tighter, which is why you were stopped at the entrance." "Oh, they're all gathered here. Are they all here to buy medicine?" "Yes and no." Yi Hao is even more confused. If they're not here to buy medicine, then what are they here for? Wu Wenyong smiled and kept him in suspense. "I won't tell you for now. You'll naturally know when we get there." Yi Hao followed Wu Wenyong to Heaven's Medicine Pavilion's back courtyard with a stomach full of questions. It was just as Wu Wenyong said. Not only were there people guarding the back courtyard, there were also many guards patrolling everywhere. They were very cautious. Yi Hao carefully observed the strength of the guards and found that the weakest was a first-level Spirit Emperor. There were also quite a few second-level Spirit Emperors. He sighed in his heart, as expected of the third city of a fifth-rank empire. Even first-level Spirit Emperors, who are rarely seen, are willing to be guards. It seems like Heaven's Medicine Pavilion is very impressive in Lishan City. "Brother Yi, this way." Wu Wenyong pulled Yi Hao, who was in a daze, and the two of them entered the back courtyard. After entering the back courtyard, the two of them were covered with a layer of blindfold. After being led by the servants in the back courtyard, they walked up a few flights of stairs and finally arrived at their destination, Heaven's Medicine Pavilion's underground auction black market. Wu Wenyong took two masks from the guards at the side. One was a fox mask for himself, and the other was a lion mask for Yi Hao. Yi Hao took the mask and put it on his face. He followed Wu Wenyong into the underground auction black market that the entire city was looking at. Chapter 1433. What made the underground black market different from other venues was that it had 3 rules. First, everyone who entered had to wear animal masks to cover their faces. These masks had been tampered with to prevent others from looking at them. This was also to make it easier for people to bid without worrying about the identity of the other party during the auction. Many times, some big families would use their identity to make others give up bidding so that they could get the auction items at a small price. The operation of the underground black market required a huge amount of money, so the owner of the underground black market came up with this trick to increase the competition among the people so that the auction items could be sold at a price far higher than their actual value. Secondly, there were no private rooms in this underground black market auction. Everyone sat together and no one was allowed to get special treatment. This was also the idea of the owner of the black market to eliminate the status mentality among the people. This was because not only would many rich and powerful people enter the auction, there would also be many rogue cultivators who were cultivators with no background. These rogue cultivators were not to be underestimated. Although they were not as rich as a country, they had many priceless rare treasures. Some time ago, when the final treasure of the underground auction came out, all the big families bid crazily. Just as they were about to get it, it was suddenly intercepted by a rogue cultivator who was only at the 3rd level of the spiritual emperor realm with a precious treasure. And bartering was the 3rd rule of the underground black market. Along the way, Wu Wenyong explained to Yi Hao in detail. Wu Wenyong led Yi Hao through the auction hall that could accommodate several thousand people with ease. It didn't take long for them to arrive at a corner of the auction hall. As soon as Wu Wenyong went over, several young people wearing masks surrounded him. Wu Wenyong, why are you so late? Yeah, we've been waiting for you for a long time. Hey, stop talking. The auction is about to start. Come over quickly. Wu Wenyong looked at his good friends in Lishan City and said with a smile, I was delayed on the way, so I'm late. Wu Wenyong explained to them, then led Yi Hao to a seat and introduced him to the crowd one by one. Yi Hao nodded at them as a form of greeting. He then asked, You just said that some of those people came here to buy medicinal herbs, while some didn't. I'm very curious about what kind of rare treasures this auction will have. Not just you, I'm also very curious. Wu Wenyong explained, This underground auction only auctions 10 items each time, and since it was held until now, it has never sold repeated items. Not to mention medicinal herbs, even many peerless weapons and superior cultivation techniques can be obtained. But there is one thing, they will only tell you the time of the auction and will not tell you what items are to be sold. So many people actually come here to join in the fun. Are you here to join the fun too? Yi Hao asked with a smile. Me? Wu Wenyong smiled and said, I'm here to keep an eye on Fatty Yin. Fatty Yin? Was that the fatty at the door who weighed more than 200 pounds? Why are you staring at him? It's a long story. Shoo, the auction is about to begin. Just as Wu Wenyong was about to speak, he heard the sound of clanking from the auction stage. So he quickly shut his mouth and signaled Yi Hao to keep quiet as well. Yi Hao realized that they weren't the only ones who kept quiet. Everyone else did the same. The auction venue, which was very noisy just now, instantly quieted down. At the same time, two men wearing ox head and horse face masks appeared on the auction stage, one tall and one short. The short man wearing the ox head mask cleared his throat and said, Hello everyone, I am Old Ox. Then the tall man said, Hello everyone, I am Old Ma. First of all, welcome to the underground auction venue. Okay, everyone below the stage waved their hands and gave the warmest applause and enthusiasm. Old Ma continued, Ahem, quiet. I believe everyone can't wait any longer. I, Old Ma, am the same. Old Ox, take out the first item for auction today. Okay, Old Bull whistled. Immediately after, two guards in purple walked over with a palm-sized square box. Old Bull took the box and handed it to Horseface. Old Ma opened the box and revealed a piece of dried-up tree root. What is this? A piece of tree root? Don't talk nonsense. When has the auction ever taken out such an ordinary item? That's right. This looks like the spiritual dragon tree root. When the first item was taken out, it caused a huge uproar. At first, some people who didn't know the value of the item thought that it was just a piece of dried-up tree root. When someone recognized that it was the spiritual dragon tree root, they immediately changed their attitude. Their eyes lit up and they couldn't wait to bid for the tree root. Old Ma looked at the people below the stage with interest. When he felt that the atmosphere was just right, he said, That's right. This is the spiritual dragon tree root. The spiritual dragon tree root feeds on the essence of the sun and moon. After 1,000 years of tempering, not only does it contain strong spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but it is also an excellent choice for medicine and alchemy. Many alchemy masters choose to use the spiritual dragon tree root as a guiding ingredient or the main ingredient for alchemy. Our Heaven's Medicine Pavilion has searched for many years and only found this small piece. Therefore, the starting price of this 1,000-year-old spiritual dragon tree root is 100 million spirit coins. Everyone is welcome to bid. As soon as he finished speaking, the crowd below the stage immediately started to bid enthusiastically. I bid 150 million. Don't fight with me. A skinny man wearing a squirrel mask raised the bidding card in his hand. Cough, cough. An old man wearing a monkey mask who was coughing constantly said, Do you think we won't bid just because you said so? Who do you think you are? I bid 170 million. I bid 180 million. Another burly man wearing a hippo mask also raised the bidding card in his hand. 190 million, 210 million, 250 million. Not only these three people, but many more people also participated in the fierce bidding. The price of the 100-year-old spiritual dragon tree root continued to rise. Yi Hao looked at the bidding card in his hand. Just as he was about to raise it, he was stopped by Wu Wenyong. Wu Wenyong looked at him and said, "What are you doing? You want to bid?" "That's right," Yi Hao said. "I happen to be refining an alchemy pill. This spiritual dragon tree root happens to be something I need. I must get it." "You are an alchemy master?" "That's right." Chapter 1434. Why is that? I can bid for it myself. Wu Wenyong looked at the people around him and said, "Didn't I tell you the story of that rogue cultivator? Do you know what happened to him?" "What happened?" Yi Hao already had some guesses in his heart. "That's right. Although that itinerant cultivator managed to get the final treasure after exchanging for it, someone found his corpse in the moat the next day. You're new here. Even if you manage to get the dragon spirit tree root, you might end up like that itinerant cultivator. I'm different from you. My Wu family has some say in Black Mountain City. That's why I'm here to help you." Yi Hao thought about it carefully and said, "If that's the case, thank you, Brother Wu. You're welcome." Wu Wenyong waved his hand gently, then raised the bidding card in his hand and said loudly, "I bid 500 million spiritual stones." Hearing that, the entire auction house quieted down. Those who were bidding were stunned. What the hell? They had just bid 300 million spiritual stones, and this guy had raised it by 200 million. How are they going to compete? Furthermore, no matter how powerful the spiritual dragon tree root was, it was not worth 500 million. At most, it would be 400 million. Hence, they all put down their bidding cards. In the end, Wu Wenyong won the 100-year-old spiritual dragon tree root with an overwhelming advantage. Wu Wenyong looked at Yi Hao proudly. "How is it? Once I make a move, it'll be as easy as pie." At that moment, Yi Hao suddenly looked at Wu Wenyong with a smile. Wu Wenyong suddenly had a bad feeling. Wu Wenyong silently put away his bidding card and looked at the smiling Yi Hao. He asked cautiously, "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Well," Yi Hao smiled awkwardly and said, "I left in a hurry and didn't bring enough spiritual stones. I'm still short of 100 million. Why don't you help me pay for it first? I'll definitely pay you back in the future." "I'm going to faint." Wu Wenyong held his forehead, regretting his previous bid. Yi Hao hurriedly said, "Brother Wu, don't worry. Yi Sangao, always keep my word. I will never go back on my words." At this moment, a guard in purple came to Wu Wenyong's side with a box in his hand. Wu Wenyong sighed deeply and said, "Fine, who asked me to meet you?" Wu Wenyong fished out a space ring and handed it to the purple-robed guard. The purple-robed guard carefully counted it. After confirming that the number was correct, he handed the box back to Wu Wenyong and stood up to leave. After the guard left, Yi Hao was just about to take the brocade box when Wu Wenyong put it away. Wu Wenyong looked serious and said, "Don't worry, the things here can't be faked. There are many people here. I'll give it to you when we get out." Yi Hao understood that he didn't want to be targeted, so he retracted his hand and sat down quietly. Not far from Wu Wenyong, there was a fat man wearing a Zhu Beiji mask sitting on a chair and drinking tea in big gulps. Beside him were more than 10 guards wearing wolf masks. One of the guards walked to his side and said, "Young master, the kid from the Wu family has made his move." Young master Yin grunted and didn't take it to heart. His eyes were fixed on the auction stage, as if waiting for something. When Wu Wenyong's friends saw him bid for the dragon spirit tree root, they surrounded him and complimented him. Wu Wenyong didn't say anything and accepted it with a smile. However, Yi Hao, who was sitting beside him, could clearly feel that Wu Wenyong's heart wasn't here. To be precise, it wasn't at the auction. Instead, he was staring at young Master Yin, who was wearing a Zhu Beiji mask. Yi Hao quietly moved closer and asked, "All right, what's your beef with young Master Yin? I see that you're always staring at him." "Not really, just some grudges, that's all." "What grudges? Tell me." Wu Wenyong was feeling bored at the moment and simply said, "The richest people in Lishan City now are Yin Jinru and Yin Chiji. However, what no one knows is that Yin Jinru used to be my father's sworn brother and was also a shopkeeper under him. At that time, the richest family in Lishan City was our Wu family. Because Yin Jinru and my father were good friends, I played and learned with Yin Chiji, the fat man, since I was young. Slowly, our relationship got better and better. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that we were like brothers. But one day, Yin Jinru betrayed my father. He took his subordinates and some big clients and left the Wu family. He started his own business and often suppressed our Wu family's business, causing our Wu family's business to get worse and worse. By my generation, we were basically living off our old money. However, the Yin family's business got better and better. Slowly, they became the richest family in the entire Lishan city. Since then, Yin Chiji acted as if he didn't know me when he saw me. He became a completely different person. He used to be very thin, but I don't know why he got fatter and fatter. His temperament also became less gentle. I understand now. Yi Hao roughly understood the relationship and said, "You're here because of that fatty Yin sitting there. You want to avenge your family and disgust the Yin family." That's right. No matter what fatty Yin wants to buy today, I will fight him to the death. But it seems that his family is rich and overbearing. You can't compete with them. Damn it, a camel is bigger than a horse. Wu Wenyong made up his mind and said, "I'm not being impulsive." Wu Wenyong of the Wu family wants to make a clean break with Yin Chiji of the Yin family. Yi Hao nodded and watched the auction quietly. Wu Wenyong also regained his rationality and sat on the chair in a daze. No one knew what he was thinking. At this time, a large iron cage covered with a red cloth was pushed out on the auction stage. Everyone's eyes were immediately attracted to it. Old Ma cleared his throat and said, "The first 9 auction items have all been sold. Only the last item is left. This auction item is a little different from the previous ones. The previous items were some treasures or cultivation methods. They were all inanimate objects. However, today's item is a living object." As soon as Old Ma finished speaking, Old Nyo tore off the red cloth covering the iron cage. When the red cloth was lifted, the crowd discovered that there was a young girl in the cage. After attending so many auctions, this was the first time they saw a living object being auctioned. Therefore, everyone's interest was immediately piqued. However, when the crowd looked at the young girl in the cage, they couldn't move their eyes away. She had a tight figure, fair skin, peerless appearance, and those deep black eyes that contain a trace of fear. Looking at her from afar, she made people want to take pity on her. The peerless woman looked at the crowd, and the fear in her eyes gradually turned into anger. When the crowd below the stage saw the peerless woman's angry appearance, Horseface couldn't help but speak. The crowd had already begun to boil. Chapter 1435. I bid 500 million. This woman is mine. Why should I? I bid 550 million. I bid 600 million. No one can compete with me. Everyone started bidding, and the first bid was 500 million. Many of the rogue cultivators who were about to bid put down their paddles silently. So what if the woman was beautiful? She was not fated to be with poor people like them. The moment young Master Yin saw the woman, he was deeply mesmerized. The guards beside him had to shout a few times to wake him up. After young Master Yin woke up, he raised the paddle in his hand and bid 1 billion extravagantly. Everyone was speechless. Wu Wenyong swallowed his saliva and muttered, "So fatty, Yin is into this." But then again, such a beautiful woman is indeed rare. Wu Wenyong turned to look at Yi Hao beside him. He noticed that Yi Hao's eyes were clear and did not reveal the greed of the people around him. He felt that Yi Hao was looking at the woman in the cage with only admiration and not blasphemy. He nudged Yi Hao and asked, "Brother Yi, how about a bet?" Yi Hao said softly, "Didn't Yin Chiji bid 1 billion already? What are you waiting for?" "That's exactly what I wanted." Wu Wenyong rubbed his palms together. Yi Hao and the others were looking forward to seeing Wu Wenyong bid an extremely high price to overwhelm Fatty Yin. Wu Wenyong raised the paddle in his hand and shouted, "I bid 1 billion and 1 spiritual stones." Yi Hao wasn't the only one who was stunned. Even his friends were stunned. They didn't expect that young Master Wu, who is usually very generous, would only raise the price by 1 spirit stone. Wu Wenyong looked at the strange looks of the people around him and smiled. Why are you all looking at me like that? Yi Hao smiled at Wu Wenyong and said, You only bid one spiritual stone? That's too cruel. Even if you want to be a prodigal, that's not the way to do it. I helped you fight for the dragon spirit tree root because I knew that no one would compete with me for 500 million. I'm a person who doesn't want trouble, so I directly block them. But this time it's different. The opponent this time is not simple. Naturally, I have to be careful. All right, you're still the best. That fatty must have been disgusted by you. However, please help me bid for this woman. Wu Wenyong looked at Yi Hao's serious face and said, What do you mean by helping you get it? Could it be that you've taken a fancy to this woman? Yi Hao's eyes were clear. He smiled and said, I don't think so. I just feel that this girl is quite pitiful. Moreover, when I look at her, I feel that she is very familiar. No matter what the reason is, I must take this person away today. Take him away? Then you have to be rich. That's why I asked for your help. All right, you already owe me once anyway, so it doesn't matter this time. Wu Wenyong paused for a moment and continued. Moreover, Fatty Yin and I were originally going to settle things. On the other side, the guard said to Yin Qiji, who was wearing Zhu Beiji's mask, Young Master, the person who bid just now was Wu Wenyong. Yin Qiji was stunned when he heard this. Then, he sneered and said, Wu Wenyong? Who the hell does he think he is? Does he think that his Wu family is still the Wu family from a few years ago? He really doesn't know what's good for him. Is he deliberately trying to disgust me by only adding one spiritual stone? Increase the price for me. Yes. Hearing this, the guard raised the bidding card on the side and bid 50 billion. Wu Wenyong was not to be outdone. He bid 50 billion and 001. At this time, Yin Qiji stood up shakily from his seat and said angrily, Wu Wenyong, are you crazy? Only increasing the price by one spiritual stone each time is not in line with your Wu family style. If you don't have the guts, you'd better quit early and not waste my time. Wu Wenyong laughed and also stood up from his seat. He said, Yin Qiji, who doesn't know that your Yin family is the richest family in Lishan City? However, I'm sorry, but I've taken a fancy to the woman in the cage. As soon as he said this, the crowd was in an uproar. It turned out that the two famous families of Lishan City were competing. No wonder he was so confident. Everyone also understood the meaning of Wu Wenyong's words. Even if you're a Yin Qiji, the only son of the Yin family, you have to obediently give up the thing that I, Wu Wenyong, want. Yin Qiji naturally understood Wu Wenyong's meaning. He immediately decided not to argue with him. He would use his actions to prove who was the biggest tycoon in Lishan City. 101 billion. 101 billion. Wu Wenyong, do you dare to raise the bid by one spirit stone each time? It's a waste of time. Yin Qiji just raised the bid. I, Wu Wenyong, will accompany you to the end. Okay, 2 billion. 101 billion. After that, the entire auction house of the underground black market was left with the sound of the two people constantly bidding. No one knew if the two of them were deliberately acting in a fit of pique or something else. But the price they shouted had already far exceeded the price of the item, but they still did not stop. On the stage, Old Ox and Old Horse were happy to see such a scene. The higher the price they shouted, the more the underground black market would naturally earn. As time passed, the two people shouted more and more cautiously. The guard looked at Yin Qiji, who clenched his fists in anger. Just as he was about to persuade him, Yin Qiji directly raised his card and said fiercely, I bid 5 billion spirit coins. Wu Wenyong laughed and said, Oh, why did young Master Yin take so long to bid? Don't tell me you're out of money. I bid 2,501,000,000. After Wu Wenyong shouted this, his palms were full of sweat. It was obvious that he was about to reach his limit. Young Master, we can't raise the bid anymore. Just give it to Wu Wenyong. Yin Qiji grabbed the guard's lapel and pulled off the mask on his face, revealing a fierce look. He gritted his teeth and said, What did you say? Give it to him, or will I pull my face then? Young Master, we've reached the limit. We can't raise the bid anymore. Yin Qiji's hand which was tightly holding the guard's hand, loosened slightly. Obviously, he was also hesitating in his heart. Although the Yin family was not short of money, the family business had been expanding recently, and many places needed money. If his father knew that he had spent so much money to buy a woman, his butt would definitely bloom. At this time, Wu Wenyoung sneered again. Young Master Yin, if you don't have enough money, go home and ask for more before coming back. If you really can't raise the bid higher than mine, then I'll take this woman away. The guard looked at Yin Chiji, whose face was livid, and suddenly had a plan in his heart. He whispered to Yin Chiji quietly. Yin Chiji listened to the guard's words, and his frowning eyebrows slowly relaxed. His complexion gradually improved. Young Master Wu is really rich and overbearing. Yin Chiji did not raise the price again. Instead, he said with a smile, I just don't know how long your Wu family's damned camel can last. The future is long. Let's wait and see. After that, Yin Chiji threw the mask in his hand to the ground and left angrily with the guard. Young Master Yin, you don't need to worry. You should be careful whether your Yin family's horse can be bigger than a camel. Wu Wenyoung said with a smile as Yin Chiji left. Although Wu Wenyoung had a smile on his face, his heart was bleeding. Yihao looked at Wu Wenyoung and said softly, Don't worry. What you lost today, I will help you earn it back. Wu Wenyoung smiled slyly. How can it be enough just to earn it back? Won't there be some interest? No problem. At this time, the guard in purple brought the girl in the cage to Wu Wenyoung's side. Wu Wenyoung looked at the hand of the guard in purple. He took out a spatial ring from his chest and handed it over. He said, Here, 2,500,001 spirit stones are all inside. The guard in purple took the ring, nodded, and left. At this point, the 1,356th auction in the underground black market had ended. Everyone left the Heaven's Medicine Pavilion one after another. On the stage, Old Ox and Old Horse watched Yi Hao and the other two leave before leaving the auction stage. After leaving the auction stage, the two of them came to a secret room hidden behind the auction house with ease. The two of them stood respectfully at the door and knocked. After getting permission, they walked in. The secret room was pitch black and nothing could be seen. After Oxhead and Horseface entered, they immediately knelt on the ground without saying a word. After a while, a young but dignified voice sounded in the room. How are things going? My lord, everything is going according to plan. Got it. You may leave. Yes. After that, Old Ox and Old Horse respectfully left. Then, an unfamiliar voice sounded in the room. Do you want me to follow the princess? Be careful. Don't expose yourself unless absolutely necessary. Got it. Then, the whole room became completely silent. Chapter 1436. Yi Hao and the other two left Heaven's Medicine Pavilion. The beautiful woman who was bought by Wu Wenyoung at a high price looked at him cautiously. Wu Wenyoung smiled and shrugged. Don't look at me like that. It was this guy who wanted me to buy it. Every injustice has its perpetrator. You should go look for him. The beautiful woman turned to look at Yi Hao. Yi Hao looked at her cautious expression and smiled. Don't worry. I have no ill intentions towards you. I just feel that you are a little pitiful. I can't bear for you to fall into the hands of that fatty. The beautiful woman looked at Yi Hao's clear eyes and let down her guard. What's your name? I'm Bing-Yi. Bing-Yi, Yi Hao said carefully. Good name. Your pupils are red? The beautiful woman called Bing looked at Yi Hao and asked, You have red pupils? Wu Wenyoung, who heard their conversation, also came over and said, I've been traveling with you for so long, but I didn't notice that you have red pupils. That's right. Yi Hao smiled. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Nothing. Wu Wenyoung hurriedly shook his head and said, It's just a little rare. Yes. Bing, he replied. Yi Hao looked at them strangely, but since they didn't want to talk about it, he didn't ask. At this moment, Wu Wenyoung suggested, How about this? It's getting late. Why don't you all stay at my place for the night? If there's anything, we can talk about it tomorrow. Okay. Yi Hao owed Wu Wenyoung a lot of favors and couldn't refuse. Moreover, the Wu family was a big family. Perhaps they could find a remaining medicinal ingredients through the Wu family. Bing, it was bought by Yi Hao on behalf of Wu Wenyang. According to the rules, it belonged to Yi Hao. Naturally, there was no objection. Just as everyone was about to head to the Wu family, a fatty who weighed more than 100 kilograms appeared in front of them with a group of guards and servants at an untimely moment. Go! Where are you going? Why don't you stay at my Yin residence for a night? I guarantee that you'll never forget it. Wu Wenyang looked at Yin Qiji, who was blocking the way, and laughed angrily. Yin Qiji, what do you mean by this? You can't beat me in the auction, so you're playing dirty. Yin Qiji laughed. Can't compete with you? Tui, others might not know the current situation of your Wu family, but do you think I don't know? It's just a family that's about to be destroyed. Yin Qiji, don't need to lower myself to compete with you. Fatty Yin, what nonsense are you talking about? You know better than me whether I'm talking nonsense or not. Yin Qiji put his hands on his hips and said arrogantly, besides, even if I play dirty, so what? Can you beat me? Yin Qiji put his hands on his hips. The guards behind him stood in a row and looked at them arrogantly. Wu Wenyang felt the momentum of the guards. They were all first-level spirit emperors, and two of their leaders were second-level spirit emperors. Although he was the young master of the Wu family, his strength was not high. He was just a first-level spirit emperor. If they really fought, they really wouldn't have any advantage. Yin Qiji sneered and pushed away Wu Wenyang, who was clenching his fists. Wu Wenyang shouted, Fatty Yin, don't go too far. If you dare to touch me, my Wu family will not let you go. TSK. Yin Qiji sneered and walked past him. He came to Yi Hao's side and stretched out his big fat hand, wanting to touch Bingyi's tender face. Bingyi looked at Yin Qiji's fat palm, and her eyes couldn't hide the disgust in them. At the same time, she couldn't help but step back. Just as Yin Qiji was about to succeed, his palm stopped a few centimeters away from Bingyi's face. No matter how much strength he used, he couldn't move a step forward. Yin Qiji looked at Yi Hao, who was holding his hand with disdain. Who was I? It turned out to be you, a country bumpkin. Hurry up and let me go, or I'll kill you in this alley today. Yi Hao's eyes turned cold, and he grabbed Yin Qiji's wrist harder. Yin Qiji only felt a pain in his wrist, and his whole face was distorted. Seeing this, the guards behind him hurriedly surrounded him. Wu Wenyang also stood in front of Yi Hao, not to be outdone. Boy, let go of our young master, or you'll be in trouble today. Do you know who you've offended? That's the son of fortune god Yin. If you don't let go, you'll be dead. That's right. Where did this arrogant brat come from? He even dares to offend the #1 conglomerate in Lishan City. He's really reckless. Although Yin Qiji's wrist hurt, he still didn't forget his identity as the young master of the Yin family. He threatened, You bastard, did you hear that? If you don't let go of my hand, I'll make your whole family die with you. Yi Hao's face turned cold, and he let go of his hand. When Yin Qi saw that Yi Hao was so obedient, he was delighted in his heart. The group of guards are also immensely proud of themselves. Looking at Yi Hao's eyes, they also revealed a hint of disdain. But in the next second, Yin Qiji was kicked away by Yi Hao. He fell to the ground heavily like a cannonball that weighed more than 200 kilograms. Yi Hao shielded Bingyi behind him and said coldly, Who do you think you are? How dare you touch my woman? Bingyi was stunned at first. Then she stretched out 2 fingers and pinched Yi Hao's back muscles. Yi Hao took a deep breath and stared at Bingyi fiercely. Bingyi wasn't afraid and stared straight at his red pupils. Wu Wenyang sighed and walked over. Sigh, you two still have time to flirt. Now we can't leave. Yi Hao retracted his fierce gaze and said unceremoniously, Brother Wu, do you think we can leave if I don't do this? Wu Wenyang laughed. That's true. Forget it. Since things have come to this, let's leave quickly. Want to run? No way. Surround them. One of the guards, who was a second-level spirit emperor, led a large number of guards to surround Yi Hao and the other two. At this time, Yin Qiji, who was supported by others, walked over with a fierce face. His gloomy eyes looked back and forth between the three of them, and he said fiercely, Originally, I only wanted to take that woman away, but now I've changed my mind. I want all 3 of your lives. Fatty Yin, how dare you? See if I dare or not. Boom. More than a dozen spirit emperors' auras rose into the sky. Wu Wenyong looked angrily at Yin Qiji, who seemed to be winning. His face was livid, and he clenched his fists. Yin Qiji glanced at the calm Yi Hao and said, "Brat, get your ass over here and count on me a few times. Maybe I'll leave your corpse intact if I'm in a good mood. Otherwise, you'll die without a burial place." Yi Hao laughed coldly and said, "Just these pieces of trash want to keep this young master's life? Damn fat pig. Aren't you thinking too highly of yourself?" Chapter 1437. You're courting death. Cripple him. Yin Shiji was so angry that he laughed and ordered the second-level Spirit Emperor Guard beside him to attack. "Brother Yi, be careful. That's a second-level Spirit Emperor." Wu Wenyong looked at a fast figure heading straight for Yi Hao and couldn't help but remind him. Yi Hao rushed over without saying a word. Bang! Everyone's vision blurred. They saw Yi Hao holding the second-level Spirit Emperor Guard by the neck and slamming him straight into the nearby wall. The whole wall directly exploded. The second-level Spirit Emperor Guard looked at Yi Hao in fear, as if he had seen a devil. He had the strength of a second-level Spirit Emperor, but this ordinary-looking young man in front of him could easily crush him. One could imagine how strong he was. "Cough, cough, spare me." The guard coughed up blood and was a little scared. His cultivation was not easy to come by. If he died like this, it would be a big loss. Yi Hao snorted coldly. With a little force in his palm, the guard's head tilted, and his whole body fell to the ground weakly. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for gaining experience points. Yi Hao turned around. Yin Shiji, Wu Wenyong, and the others were looking at him in shock, but the shock in the two was different. Yin Shiji and the others were shocked by Yi Hao's strength. He could easily crush a second-level Spirit Emperor. That shock was mixed with a little fear. Although Wu Wenyong was also shocked by Yi Hao's strength, his shock was mixed with more joy. Bing Yi, who was standing in the same place, didn't feel the slightest surprise. Instead, she carefully observed Yi Hao's every move. Yin Qiji pushed away the 2 people beside him and said angrily, "You can fight very well, right? Well, then I'll let you fight to your heart's content today. Go. Whoever can kill him will be rewarded greatly." Originally, everyone was afraid of Yi Hao's strength and didn't dare to go forward. But after hearing Yin Qiji's words, they all went forward. Since ancient times, riches and honor were found in danger. Moreover, Yi Hao is only a second-level Spirit Emperor. With so many of us, we can definitely kill that kid. Yi Hao looked at the crowd swarming over and sneered, "A bunch of idiots." Soon after, he began to slaughter his way through the group of guards. No one was a match for him. It didn't take long for those who wanted to seek riches and honor in the midst of danger to lie quietly in pools of blood. Yi Hao wiped the blood off his hands and walked towards Yin Qiji with a smile. Yin Qiji's face was pale and trembling. Yin Qiji looked at Yi Hao's gentle smile, and there was an unspeakable fear in his heart. Yi Hao waved at Yin Qi. Yin Qi screamed, as if he had seen a devil, turned around, and ran away. Yi Hao shook his head helplessly and quickly rushed behind Yin Qiji. He grabbed Yin Qiji's head and slammed it heavily on the ground. Bang! Yin Qiji's head hit the ground so hard that some cracks appeared on the ground. Seeing stars, Yin Qiji, who was bleeding profusely, felt that he had 1 foot in the gates of hell. He couldn't help but say in a panic, You let me go. I'll give you anything you want." "Oh, then if I want her life, will you give it to me?" As if struck by lightning, Yin Qiji hurriedly said, "No, you can't kill me. If you kill me, my father won't let you go." "How dare you threaten me?" Yi Hao sneered. He grabbed Yin Qiji's head and slammed it heavily on ground. Then, like picking up a dead dog, he threw him directly into the corner of the wall. Yi Hao waved his right hand, and a long sword lying on the ground consciously came into his hand. Yin Qiji curled up in the corner and said hurriedly, "You can't kill me. You can't kill me." At this time, Yin Chiji no longer had the arrogance from before. Since his guards fell one by one in front of him, his heart had sunk to the bottom. He only wanted to live. Yi Hao came in front of him, but before he could do anything, another figure came in front of Yin Chiji faster than him. Brother Yi, Yin Chiji can't die yet. Yi Hao looked at Wu Wenyong's serious appearance and silently put down the long sword in his hand. Yin Chiji saw this and laughed. Ha ha! I told you, Yi, you can't kill me. Ha ha! You don't dare to kill me. Before his voice died away, a white light flashed. Wu Wenyong was shocked. Then, as if relieved of a burden, he revealed a knowing smile. Ah, it hurts. Yin Chiji looked at the long sword inserted in his thigh. His face was pale, and cold sweat flowed down. His hands held his trembling thigh, and his face became distorted again because of the pain. Yi Hao looked at Yin Chiji, whose leg was broken, and said faintly, "Don't think that I won't dare to do anything to you, because I can't kill you for the time being. Breaking your leg is just to teach you a lesson. Remember, you still owe me a kowtow. Don't let me see you again." Then, Yi Hao and the other two left the alley, leaving Yin Chiji alone. His eyes were full of hatred, and he sat on the ground in extreme pain. Just as Yi Hao and the other two left, a group of people entered the city. That group of people was composed of two completely different kinds of people. One was a rich young master in brocade clothes, and the other was a stooped old servant. One of the rich young masters, who was the leader, wore a jade ring on his finger. He looked at the old servant beside him and asked, "Are you sure the guy entered the city?" "Yes, young master. We followed him all the way here. That guy must have entered the city." "Yes or no? We'll know if we ask around." One of the rich young masters with a zither on his back said, "Lining, that trash sent us a sound transmission before he died. He said that guy is called Yi Sangao. He seems to have a cultivation of the second-level Spirit Emperor, but his strength is no less than that of the fourth-level Spirit Emperor. We must not be careless." "Humph." A rich young master with 3 ancient swords on his back said, "No matter who he is, he must die for daring to ruin our Yulin Lin family's business." "That's right." A rich young master with a wine jug, who was also the last rich young master in the group, raised his head and took a big gulp of wine. He said drunkenly, "No matter who he is, he must die for killing our Lin family's people. Even if he is an animal or a bastard, only our Lin family has the right to kill him. Others are not worthy." The stooped old servant hurriedly lowered his head, not daring to look at the 4 rich young masters in brocade clothes. The rich young master with the jade ring stretched and said, "That's right. Elder Liu, we'll leave this matter to you. We're going to have some fun. If there's anything, just send a sound transmission." "Yes." Then, the 4 rich young masters led the group of servants to the city's most famous red light district. Although Lishan City was very big, the Wu Mansion was located in the center of the city. Therefore, Yi Hao and Wu Wenyong soon arrived at the Wu Mansion under Wu Wenyong's lead. After the 3 of them entered, they did not meet any servants along the way. Wu Wenyong found a room and arranged for them to stay. As soon as the 3 of them sat down, a guard in a blue robe with a long sword in his hand came over and whispered something in Wu Wenyong's ear. After hearing this, Wu Wenyong's expression turned serious. He stood up and said to Yi Hao, "Brother Yi, please wait a moment. There's an urgent matter at home that needs to be dealt with." Yi Hao waved his hand carelessly. "Go ahead. We'll wait for you here." "Okay, I'll be back soon." With that, Wu Wenyong left under the lead of the guard. Chapter 1438. Lishan City, Yin Residence. In the Yin Residence's main hall, a middle-aged man with graying temples looked at a fatty who weighed more than 200 kilograms sitting on a chair with a pained expression. The fatty looked at his crippled right leg angrily and said to the middle-aged man angrily, "Father, you have to take revenge for me. Your son will become a cripple in the future. How can I take over the Yin family's huge business?" As the head of the Yin family and also Yin Chiji's father, Yin Jinru touched his son's chubby face and comforted him. "Chiji, don't worry. I've already sent people to refine medicinal pills. They will definitely cure your leg. Really? Thank you, Father. Yin Shiji's anger turned into joy, and he no longer worried about his crippled leg. Shiji, tell me the whole story in detail. Yes, Father. Afterward, Yin Shiji recounted the whole story with exaggerated details. After listening, Yin Jinru broke a corner of the tea table with a slap and said angrily, "Ignorant child, you've gone too far. You even dare to threaten to destroy my Yin family. You really don't know what death is." Yin Shiji looked at the furious Yin Jinru and was very satisfied. He smiled and said, "Father, look at what you're holding in your hand." What? Yin Jinru was stunned. He looked at his hand and realized that the corner of the tea table had been broken by him. He couldn't help but feel his heart ache. This is a tea table made of high-quality wood. It's worth a lot of spirit coins. How did I break it? After feeling his heart ache for a while, Yin Jinru recovered and asked the housekeeper coldly, "How is it? Have you investigated the background of that guy called Yi Sangao?" "Master, I've investigated. Yi Sangao only came to Lishan City today." "Only came today?" Yin Jinru pondered carefully. Then how did he get involved with the Wu family? It was at the entrance of the Heavens Medicine Pavilion today. The two of them met. That Yi Sangao didn't have an invitation, but he wanted to enter. Coincidentally, Wu Wenyong arrived at that moment and helped him out. That's right. It was Wu Wenyong who helped him get in. Yin Shiji, who was sitting at the side, immediately echoed. Then he seemed to think of something and said, "By the way, Wu Wenyong didn't buy that woman. He bought her for Yi Sangao." "Help Yi Sangao." Yin Jinru became even more puzzled. "That's 5 billion spirit coins. They're neither relatives nor friends. Why would Wu Wenyong help him?" "I'm also very confused," the butler said respectfully. "No, go and check again. Check carefully. You must confirm that there are no mistakes before you act." "Yes." After the housekeeper left, Yin Shiji said with dissatisfaction, "Dad, when will we find out? Maybe Yi Sangao will have run away." "Run?" "Even if he does run, as long as the Wu clan doesn't run, it won't affect the overall situation." "Father, that's enough." Yin Jinru said seriously, "It's not easy for our Yin clan to get to where we are today. The higher your status, the more cautious you have to be. If you're not careful, the entire Yin clan will be smashed to pieces. Before you investigate clearly, you must not act rashly." "Yes." Yin Shiji lowered his head reluctantly. Yin Jinru's brain worked quickly as he pondered carefully. His eyes, which had seen countless people, narrowed slightly as if he was waiting for a certain opportunity to give fatal blow. Lishan City, Wu residence. Wu Wenyong followed the guard in front of him to a secluded courtyard. Before he walked in, he could already smell a pungent smell of medicine. After the guard brought Wu Wenyong to the door of the room, he stood still and motioned for Wu Wenyong to go in alone. Wu Wenyong gently knocked on the door and heard a weak voice coming from inside. Then he walked in. After entering, Wu Wenyong walked quietly to the bed and knelt on the ground without saying a word. At this moment, a shriveled and skinny hand stretched out from the bed. Wu Wenyong saw this hand and hurriedly took it, holding it tightly in his palm. "Cough, cough. Wenyong, sit closer." Wu Wenyong heard the weak voice coming from behind the curtain and hurriedly sat by the bed. He leaned forward slightly and said, "Father, Wenyong is here." "Cough, cough. I heard that you spent a lot of money at the auction and bought a woman back." Wu Wenyong looked through the curtain of the bed and saw the Wu clan head, who was getting thinner by the day. He was in the prime of his life, but could only rely on medicine to maintain his life like an old man. Wu Wenyong's eyes couldn't help but redden. He held back his tears and said, "Father, your body is getting worse." The Wu clan head lying on the bed said weakly, "Our Wu clan is no longer the same as before. I'll let it go this time, but you can't spend money so extravagantly in the future. Can you tell me why you bought that woman?" "Father, I hear that your voice is getting weaker and weaker. Did you take your medicine on time?" The old man coughed dryly again and said as if he was discouraged, "Forget it. My son has grown up and has his own ideas. I'm at ease now." "Father, you must take care of your body. Just as Wu Wenyong was about to say a few more words, a light snoring sound came from behind the curtain. Wu Wenyong stretched out his tightly clenched hands and gently placed the old man's palm back. He then sat on the ground and said with a choked voice, "Father, I've made a new friend. His name is Yi Sangao. He's an alchemist. With him, our Wu clan will definitely be more prosperous than it is now." Not long after, Wu Wenyong walked out of the room with a calm expression. He placed his hands behind his back and asked the blue-clothed guard beside him, "Who leaked the news?" "Young master. It was the maidservant who was serving the master's medicine who accidentally leaked the news." Huh. Wu Wenyong sneered. "Accidentally? Spending a lot of money is something that only happened today. It hasn't spread throughout Lishan City yet. How would mere maidservant know?" "Then what do you mean? Kill all of them. Don't leave a single one alive. Throw these corpses into the backyard of the Yen residence." "Yes." The blue-clothed guard could not hide his excitement. He asked, "Young master, are we preparing for war?" Wu Wenyong's eyes were cold. He said calmly, "It's just a matter of time. Inform everyone to get ready and wait for my orders." "Yes." Wu Wenyong walked out of the courtyard and breathed in the fresh fragrance of the flowers. He patted his stiff face, and a smile appeared on his face. Then, he walked towards the room where Yi Hao and the other man were staying. In the room, Yi Hao sat on the bed and meditated. The beautiful Bing Yi peeked at him from time to time. Suddenly, Yi Hao smiled and said, "You've seen a few times. Have you seen enough?" Bing Yi was not shy even though she was caught red-handed. She said directly, "I'm really curious why you have red pupils. Among all the people I've met, you're the second one with red pupils." "Oh, then who was the first one?" "The first one." Bing Yi was stunned. Then, she lowered her head. "He's dead." Chapter 1439. Bing Yi closed her eyes tightly, as if she didn't want to recall the painful past. Yi Hao quickly changed the topic. "All right, how did you appear at the auction?" Bing Yi recalled carefully. "I don't know how I was sent to the auction." Yi Hao held his forehead and asked, "What about your family? Did you get separated from them?" "No." Bing Yi sighed deeply. Bing Yi sighed deeply and said, "I'm not from this empire. My home is very far away in the east. It's like spring all year round there. It's very prosperous. But one day, war broke out. My parents sent me away temporarily. After that, I came here. I don't remember what happened after that." "Don't remember?" Yi Hao asked curiously. "Don't tell me you lost your memory?" "Lost my memory?" Bing Yi was puzzled. Suddenly, her head felt like it was hit by a hammer. It was extremely painful. She grabbed her head and curled up on the ground in pain. She didn't dare to make a sound. Yi Hao quickly carried her up and placed her on the bed. Not long after, Bing Yi's painful expression slowly relaxed. She fell into a coma. Yi Hao felt her pulse. There was no problem. Only then did he relax. Bing Yi had just fallen into a coma when Wu Wenyong walked in with a bright face. Wu Wenyong looked around and asked, "Where's Bing Yi?" "She's a little tired. She slept first." "That's good. I have something to discuss with you." Hence, the two of them changed rooms. Wu Wenyong ordered the servants to prepare a table full of dishes and 2 pots of good wine. After they sat down, Wu Wenyong poured a cup of wine for Yi Hao and asked, "Brother, are you really an alchemist?" Yi Hao patted his chest and said, "Of course." "That's good. Brother, I have a request." As he spoke, Wu Wenyong directly knelt on the ground. Yi Hao hurriedly helped him up. "Brother Wu, let's talk nicely. What are you doing? Get up quickly." "No, I won't get up if you don't promise me," Wu Wenyong said shamelessly. Yi Hao thought that Wu Wenyong had indeed helped him a lot, and the dragon spirit tree root was still with him. If he didn't agree, he might not be able to get it, so he might as well agree first. Even if he couldn't do it, it would be Wu Wenyong who agreed, not Yi Hao. Okay, I promise you. Get up and talk." Good, brother. Here's a toast to you." Wu Wenyong got up and drank the wine in one gulp. "Can you tell me what it is now?" Wu Wenyong straightened his face and said solemnly, "This matter is actually very simple for you. You just have to become my Wu family's alchemist." "Alchemist?" Yi Hao shook his head and said, "Brother Wu, I'm used to being free and unfettered. I don't like being tied down, so I can't agree." "No, you've misunderstood. When I said I want you to become my Wu family's alchemist, I meant to refine pills for my Wu family. I don't mean to tie you down." Wu Wenyong paused, then said, "I know you have great ambitions, and I definitely won't do something like keeping you trapped in Lishan City. I want you to represent my Wu family in the Alchemist Conference in half a month." Alchemist Assembly? Yi Hao seemed to have seen these words somewhere before, and felt that they were somewhat familiar. That's right. To be honest, our Wu family started off with herbs and pills. Later on, our Wu family became one of the richest families in Lishan City because of pills. However, ever since the Yin family's father and son betrayed our Wu family, they kept offering high prices to recruit our Wu family's alchemists. Over time, our Wu family's alchemist business plummeted, and the Alchemist Conference in half a month is a grand event for our Lishan City. As long as you can represent our Wu family and win the championship, I believe that those alchemists who didn't trust our Wu family and betrayed us before will return to our Wu family. Our Wu family's alchemist business will soar again. And in this half a month, our Wu family will provide you with unconditional help. As long as you ask, no matter how expensive the herbs are, I can get them for you. Yi Hao listened to Wu Wenyong's explanation while looking through the system's side missions. As expected, he found the mission to win the championship of the Alchemist Conference. Yi Hao looked at the mission and muttered to himself, "I knew it. It sounds familiar. It really does exist. Brother Yi, what do you think?" Wu Wenyong looked at Yi Hao eagerly. Yi Hao pondered for a moment and felt that there was no harm in it. He could refine pills and complete the mission. It was a good deal, so he said, "Brother Wu has taken care of me a lot. I'll definitely help you with this small favor." "Thank you, brother. Brother Wu, you don't have to be so polite. This is a small matter between friends." Good. Brother Yi, come, let's drink." After the banquet ended, Yi Hao didn't go to sleep early. Instead, he asked for the dragon spirit tree root and other herbs from Wu Wenyong. He was going to start refining the 9 Heavens Fire Spirit pill tonight. Yi Hao asked Wu Wenyong for an alchemy room. After sitting down cross-legged, he took out all the herbs from his spatial ring and threw them into the cauldron one by one, according to the order of the pill formula. After the herbs entered the cauldron, they quickly disappeared and turned into rich heaven and earth spirit chi that kept swirling in the cauldron. Not far away, a pale-faced scholar sat quietly at the door with a jar of wine in his hand. The pale-faced scholar looked at Yi Hao's skillful alchemy and couldn't help but be a little surprised. Although Yi Sangao said that he was an alchemist, he didn't see it with his own eyes. He still didn't want to believe it. Moreover, the 9 Heavens Fire Spirit pill was not an ordinary pill. If one didn't have the strength of a 4th-grade alchemist, it was impossible to successfully refine it. A 4th-grade alchemist? One had to know that there were only 3 such alchemists in the entire Lishan City, and most of them were old men in their 60s. He really hadn't seen a 4th-grade alchemist as young as Yi Hao. That was why he came to the alchemy room tonight to check it out. Yi Hao didn't have any other thoughts. He threw one pill after another into the cauldron. When only the dragon spirit tree root was left in his hand, he stopped and quietly looked at the flames in the cauldron. Yi Hao felt that the temperature of the flames wasn't high enough, so he used his spirit chi to increase the temperature of the cauldron. Not far away, the pale-faced scholar Wu Wenyong saw this scene and smiled faintly. He murmured, "Spirit chi fire guide. If you're not a 4th-grade alchemist, you really can't do this." Interesting. However, he then saw an even more shocking scene. He saw Yi Hao throw all the dragon spirit tree root in his hand into the cauldron. Wu Wenyong threw away the wine bottle in his hand and shouted without caring about his image, "Damn, do you think the dragon spirit tree root was given for free? Throwing the whole thing in, what a waste." Chapter 1440. Yi Hao, who was fully immersed in the process, did not hear Wu Wenyong's complaints. With a wave of his right hand, the 100 sets of herbs that he had prepared in his interspatial ring all flew into the furnace. Wu Wenyong was even more dumbfounded when he saw this scene. With a pained expression, he said, "What kind of operation is this? He hasn't even refined a single 9 Heavens fire spirit pill, and he dares to refine 100 sets of pills at once. This guy's playing with me." After Yi Hao threw the 100 sets of herbs and an entire section of spiritual dragon tree root that he had bought at the auction into the furnace, he began to use spirit energy in his hands to slowly guide the flames around the furnace. Unknowingly, 6 hours passed. During the entire process of Yi Hao refining pills, Wu Wenyong did not leave at all. It was not that he did not want to leave, but he wanted to see if Yi Hao could succeed. After all, it was related to the alchemy conference half a month later. He could not afford to be careless. After 6 hours, Wu Wenyong could see that Yi Hao's alchemy skills were at least at the level of a level 4 alchemist. Not to mention his skillful technique, just the boldness to refine 100 sets of pills at once was enough. If he was not very confident, how would he dare to do it? After all, these herbs were very precious. Moreover, Wu Wenyong could not see any nervousness that belonged to someone of his age from Yi Hao's expression. Boom! A roar came from within the furnace. Wu Wenyong narrowed his eyes and muttered, "It's here." Yi Hao put down his raised arms and let out a long breath. He stood up silently and opened the lid of the furnace. Ding dong! Congratulations to host for completing the mission of refining 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Pill. Reward: 1,000 mission tokens and 1 summoning token. Yi Hao accepted the reward silently. Wu Wenyong narrowed his eyes and stared at the furnace. He did not dare to blink. After Yi Hao opened the lid of the furnace, he did not rush to take out the pills. Instead, he smiled and said, "Wu Wenyong, aren't you tired after standing there for so long? Why don't you come closer and take a closer look?" Wu Wenyong curled his lips and walked to the front of the pill furnace. But after taking a glance at it, he couldn't move his eyes away. At this moment, inside the alchemy furnace, there were 100 pills that were emitting red light. There were also dozens of pills that were mixed with traces of golden light, which was obviously a symbol of perfect quality. "Brother, you're amazing. You actually managed to refine all 100 pills. This is all thanks to the dragon spirit tree root that you helped me bid for." Yi Hao waved his hand, and the pills in the furnace entered Yi Hao's interspatial ring one after another. Yi Hao took out a perfect quality 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Dan and handed it over to Wu Wenyong, saying, "If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to refine so many pills. I'll give this pill to you as a small thank you gift." "How can I accept that?" Wu Wenyong's eyes lit up as he stared at the pill in Yi Hao's hand. His cultivation had always been his weakness. No matter how hard he tried, his cultivation couldn't increase. However, with this 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Pill, his cultivation could at least increase by 2 levels. "You don't want it? If you don't want it, I'll throw it away." "I want it." Wu Wenyong snatched the pill from Yi Hao's hand and said with a smile, "Wouldn't it be a pity to throw away such a good thing?" Wu Wenyong looked at it carefully. It was indeed a perfect quality 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Pill. Then, he carefully put it away and said with a smile, "Brother Sangao, you really don't show your true colors. Speaking of which, to refine 100 pills at the same time, and to refine all of them, your alchemy skills should be at the level of a 4th grade alchemist." "4th grade alchemist?" Yi Hao asked doubtfully. "Alchemists are divided into grades." Wu Wenyong sighed and said, "You don't even know the grades of alchemists? Which empire are you from?" "I'm from the Tianyuan Empire." "No wonder you don't know." Wu Wenyong revealed a look of sudden realization and explained, "The grades of alchemists in our ancient devil domain are determined by the 6th grade empire, the Danzong Empire. Because the Tianyuan Empire has just been established and is developing rapidly, the Danzong Empire didn't have time to establish a branch in the Tianyuan Empire. Therefore, it's normal that you don't know about it. The grades of alchemists in the entire ancient devil domain are determined by the people of the Danzong Empire." "That's right. Our ancient devil domain has 3 great 6th grade empires, and the entire ancient devil domain is divided into 3 different factions around these 3 great 6th grade empires. Among them, The sixth great empire, White God Empire, and some of his subordinate empires are a large faction, located in the west of the ancient Devil Domain, while the sixth great empire, Tsang, or Empire, and some of his subordinate empires are another large faction, located in the east of the ancient Devil Domain. The Danzong Empire and some of his subordinate empires are another large faction, located in the south of the ancient Devil Domain. However, although this Danzong Empire does not have a Spirit Heaven Emperor Realm expert overseeing it, there's a sixth great alchemist. So many empires are willing to befriend him or even become his vassal. After all, no one is willing to offend the only sixth great alchemist in the ancient Devil Domain. Therefore, the Danzong Empire has branches in many empires. One is to rate the alchemist in the world, and the other is to take in all the young talents in the world. Hearing this, Yi Hao roughly understood, so he asked, "Then what do you mean by subordinate empires?" This is not difficult to understand. The strength of a sixth great empire is much higher than that of a fifth great empire. So every time a new fifth great empire is established, the sixth great empire will send people to make the fifth great empire a vassal, paying tribute every year, and the sixth great empire will also ensure his safety, so other empires will not dare to attack him. Wu Wenyang thought for a moment, then continued. Our Qingshan Empire, Raging Flame Empire, and Full Moon Empire, these three great fifth great empires are all vassal states of the Tsang Empire, and under these three great fifth great empires, there are many fourth grade vassal states, and so on. Do you understand? Yi Hao nodded. I roughly understand. Then wouldn't our Tianyuan Empire also become a vassal state of others? Of course, this is the rule of the ancient Devil Domain. Your Tianyuan Empire will not be able to escape. Yi Hao suddenly became a little anxious, secretly calculating in his heart. Wu Wenyang continued, but you don't have to worry. Bowing down is better than losing your empire. Moreover, the Heavenly Street Convention is just around the corner, and after this convention, there should be a fifth great empire coming to your Tianyuan Empire to recruit. Wu Wenyang's words gave Yi Hao a reassurance, and at the same time, it also made Yi Hao feel a deep pressure. Brother Wu, I'm a little tired. I'll go back first. Okay, if you need anything the next few days, just let me know. Okay, sure. After separating from Wu Wenyang, Yi Hao returned to his room and sat cross-legged on the bed. He took out a perfect quality 9 Heavens Fire Spirit pill, took it, and began to break through to the 4th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. It was useless to think too much. The most important thing was to make himself stronger so that he could protect the Tianyuan Empire. Chapter 1441. Boom Boom. 2 waves of majestic spiritual energy came from the backyard of the Wu Manor. Wu Wenyang and Yi Hao broke through one after another. One broke through from the 1st level of the Spirit Emperor realm to the 3rd level of the Spirit Emperor realm, while the other broke through from the 2nd level of the Spirit Emperor realm to the 3rd level of the Spirit Emperor realm. After breaking through, Wu Wenyang was not in a hurry to go out. Instead, he began to stabilize his realm. Yi Hao was the same. However, his method of stabilizing his realm was to concoct pills. He got a lot of pills from the guards of the Wu Manor. He said it was to prepare for the alchemy conference half a month later. In reality, he was concocting Spirit Emperor realm pills for his people to consume in the future to strengthen their cultivation. During this time, Bing Yi came to the alchemy room a few times. Seeing that Yi Hao was focused on concocting pills, she left after a few glances. At this moment, in the main hall of the Yin Manor, the housekeeper knelt on the ground, trembling. He pressed his forehead against the floor. Standing in front of him was the head of the Yin Manor, Yin Jinru. Yin Jinru narrowed his eyes and looked at the housekeeper in front of him. He said softly, "How is it? Did you find out what I asked you to investigate?" "Master, I have investigated thoroughly several times. I found out that Yi Sangao and Wu Wenyang did not know each other before. They met by chance." Yin Jinru lifted the housekeeper from the ground. He looked at him and said word by word, "In one day, you found out this for me. It is indeed a waste to give you so much money every month." Bang! Yin Jinru threw the housekeeper to the ground and kicked him a few times. The housekeeper did not dare to talk back. He quickly knelt on the ground and said, "Master, I found out that Wu Wenyong will be participating in the alchemy conference half a month later." "What? Wu Wenyong is going to participate in the alchemy conference?" Yin Jinru sneered. "How dare those lousy alchemists from the Wu Manor participate in the alchemy conference? They are really reckless." "Master, it is not those alchemists from the Wu Manor. The one representing the Wu Manor is Yi Sangao." Yi Sangao? Yin Jinru wondered if he had heard wrong. He mocked him. An ignorant kid dares to participate in the alchemy conference? What is his alchemist level? Him? No rank. No rating? Yin Jinru was stunned. He then laughed out loud and said, "Looks like the Wu family has really declined. You actually chose a kid who doesn't even have a ranking and can't take on such a big responsibility to participate in such an important competition. If that's the case, my Yin family will completely destroy your Wu family's reputation on the day of the competition. You will no longer have a foothold in Lishan City." Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Wu Wenyong's group of 3, who had changed into new clothes, stood at the entrance of the Wu estate. They were preparing to head to the Pill Sect Empire's branch in the city to participate in the alchemist convention. Wu Wenyong, who had changed into a blue robe, waved at the guards standing at the door and said, "You can go back." One of the guards said, "Young master, are you sure you don't want to bring a few guards? I'm afraid that the Yin family." Wu Wenyong waved his hand. "There's no need. The Yin clan wouldn't dare to act recklessly in the Pill Sect Empire's branch. Moreover, I still have Brother Sangao. It's fine. Remember, when I'm not around, you must strengthen the defense of the Wu clan." "Yes." After that, the 3 of them walked side by side to the Pill Sect Empire's branch in Lishan City. Along the way, Wu Wenyong and Yi Hao chatted casually. Bingyi followed behind Yi Hao silently. Originally, Yi Hao didn't want to bring Bingyi along because he was afraid that the Yin clan would play dirty like last time. After all, he had crippled Yin Qiji previously. The Yin clan wouldn't let this matter rest. However, for some reason, Bingyi insisted on tagging along. Without a choice, Yi Hao could only bring her along. Wu Wenyong pointed to the street in front and said, "After crossing that street, turn right and you'll reach it." "All right. How are your preparations for this half a month?" "Everything is ready." "Good. I believe in your strength. This time, my Wu clan will definitely surprise everyone present." At the Pill Sect Empire's branch, Wu Wenyong and his group were invited in after reporting their identities. As soon as the 3 of them entered, they saw a gray-haired old man walking towards them with a smile. Wu Wenyong looked at the old man and walked over enthusiastically. He held the old man's hand and asked with concern, "Hello, Grandpa Gu. How's your health recently?" The old man, who was called Grandpa Gu, smiled and patted Wu Wenyong's hand. He said, "Thanks to you, I'm still quite healthy." "Who are these 2? "These 2 are my friends." Wu Wenyong smiled and introduced them to Grandpa Gu. Oh, very good. A talented man and a beautiful woman. What a good match." Hearing this, the 2 of them looked at each other at the same time. Then, they quickly turned their heads. Grandpa Gu touched his white beard and asked, "Wenyong, today is the Alchemist Conference. Where are the alchemists from your Wu clan? Why don't I see them?" Wu Wenyong smiled and touched his head. He said, "Grandpa Gu, they're here." "Oh, could it be that you're preparing to participate personally this year? But I remember that you're only a second-grade alchemist. I'm afraid you have no hope of winning." "Grandpa Gu, it's not me." Then, Grandpa Gu looked at Bing, who was standing at the side, and said, "Could it be this good-looking girl?" Bing said with a cold face, "It's not me either." Grandpa Gu became more and more confused. In the end, he fixed his gaze on Yi Hao, whose face was a little dark. "Could it be this young man? Grandpa Gu is right. It's him, Yi Sangao." Grandpa Gu looked at Wu Wenyong in disbelief. Then, he looked at Yi Hao and said, "Young man, you became an alchemist at such a young age. Not bad. What grade are you? Why don't I see your alchemist identity card?" Yi Hao looked at Grandpa Gu and said respectfully, "Grandpa Gu, I don't have an alchemist identity card." "Eh, How is that possible? As long as you're an alchemist, you should have an identity card. Why don't you have one? Yi Hao was about to speak when he was interrupted by an ear-piercing voice. He really doesn't have an identity card because he's not an alchemist at all. He's not even a grade 1. Everyone turned their heads and saw a middle-aged man with white hair walking in with a fatty who weighed more than 100 kilograms and an old man with a crooked body who was leaning on a walking stick. Dong Feng, the vice president of the Dan sect Empire's Lishan City branch, who had been standing in the hall and chatting with other alchemists, saw the person who walked in. He quickly ran over and said with a flattering face, "Master Yin, you're here. Quick, please come in." Yin Jinru waved his hand slightly and smiled. "Vice President Dong, you don't have to be so polite. Isn't Grandpa Gu over there? Let's go and greet him." Then, the four of them came to the old man's side. Yin Jinru inadvertently glanced at Yi Hao. Yin Shiji looked at Yi Hao and the other two with eyes full of hatred. The old man with the walking stick walked past Yi Hao indifferently. Yin Jinru looked at the old man and smiled. "Hello, Grandpa Gu. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Grandpa Gu's body is still healthy." "And," Grandpa Gu said indifferently, "Dong Feng, bring the guests in." "Yes, President." Yin Jinru wasn't angry. But before he left, he said to Wu Wenyong, "You actually want to rely on this trash to win. It seems like your Wu family is getting worse and worse." Chapter 1442. Wu Wenyong did not mind Yin Jinru's mockery. He smiled and said, "Thank you for your concern, Patriarch Yin. However, if Patriarch Yin has the time to focus on me, why don't you worry more about your own family? Be careful that there is no successor for such a huge family business." "Wu Wenyong, what did you say? You dare to threaten me?" Yin Shiji jumped up on the spot and shouted at Wu Wenyong. Old Master Gu stomped his foot and said, "Why are you quarreling? This isn't a place for you to quarrel. If you want to quarrel, do it outside." Yin Jinru flicked his sleeves and brought the angry Yin Shiji back to his seat. Wu Wenyong smiled at Old Master Gu and said, "Grandpa Gu is still biased towards me." Old Master Gu didn't reply. He looked at Yi Hao and then at Wu Wenyong and sighed. "Sigh, I can't help you much. You're on your own now." "Okay, take care, Grandpa Gu." Wu Wenyong came to Yi Hao's side. The three of them found a seat and sat down. He then said, "Sangao, Grandpa Gu doesn't know your strength. Don't take it to heart." Yi Hao smiled indifferently. "Of course not. By the way, what's your relationship with Old Master Gu? It seems that he treats you quite well." "Sigh, that's a long story." "Then make it short." "Okay." Wu Wenyong poured himself a glass of wine and said, "Grandpa Gu and my father have always been good friends. Therefore, he treats me especially well. I think Old Master Gu doesn't particularly like the Yin family." "That's right. Grandpa Gu didn't like Yin Jinru and his son back then. He even advised my father to be careful of Yin Jinru. Unfortunately, my father didn't listen. Later, Yin Jinru betrayed the Wu family. Grandpa Gu disliked him even more." Yi Hao also poured himself a glass. Just as he was about to drink it, it was snatched away by Bing Yi. Yi Hao looked at her and said, "Why are you snatching my wine? Isn't there one beside you?" Bing Yi rolled her eyes at him. "You'll be competing in a while. You can't drink." Yi Hao looked at Bing Yi's serious expression and said helplessly, "All right." Wu Wenyong couldn't help but laugh when he saw the two of them flirting. He looked across, and coincidentally, the old man beside Yin Jinru also looked over. Their gazes met in midair. The old man cracked a smile, while Wu Wenyong's veins bulged as he crushed the wine cup in his hand. Yi Hao noticed the change and asked, "What's wrong? Why are you so angry?" Wu Wenyong retracted his gaze and straightened his expression. "It's nothing. I just saw an old friend." Yi Hao looked at the old man opposite him and asked, "Is he also a traitor?" "That's right. One of the many alchemists who betrayed my Wu family with Yin Jinru." Wu Wenyong recalled the old man's alchemy skills and reminded him, "That's right. Don't underestimate him. When he was in my Wu family, he was already a fourth-grade alchemist. Now that so many years have passed, he should have improved a little. Who knows, he might have already touched the threshold of 5th grade. Interesting, Yi Hao replied. He had some expectations in his heart. In the past, he only competed with others using martial arts. It was rare to compete with others in alchemy. At this moment, a pot-bellied middle-aged man walked into the hall with a group of servants and an unkempt middle-aged man. After the pot-bellied middle-aged man entered, he greeted everyone present and found a seat to sit down. Wu Wenyong introduced to Yi Hao. The pot-bellied man is the head of the Leaf family in Lishan City. The unkempt man beside him is a fourth-grade alchemist. I heard that he's very strong and can't be underestimated. Just as Wu Wenyong finished speaking, Old Man Gu stood up and said to everyone, "All right, since everyone is here, the alchemy conference will officially begin." All right, everyone in the hall cheered. Then, a shadow was projected in the middle of the hall. The image in a shadow was a divided alchemy room. Old Man Gu came to the middle of the hall and announced, "This alchemy conference is divided into 3 segments. The first segment is to enter the alchemy room. The second segment is to identify the herbs. The third segment is to refine the pills. Now, you participants can go to the alchemy room corresponding to your number and wait for the competition to begin. By the way, everyone outside can see your every move in the alchemy room. So don't cheat. Otherwise, you'll be disqualified from the competition and stripped of your alchemist identity." Old Man Gu, I have a question. Before Old Man Gu finished speaking, Yin Jinru stood up and said, "You just said that if someone cheats, they'll be disqualified from the competition and stripped of their alchemist identity. But if someone isn't an alchemist and cheats, then you'll only be disqualified. I'm afraid this punishment is a little light." Old Man Gu remained silent. The surrounding people were in an uproar. Wu Wenyong's face was a little ugly. "What? There's someone who isn't an alchemist? It can't be. He's here to be a joke. He's not an alchemist, and yet he dares to participate in the competition. That's right. I'm curious as to which idiot dares to humiliate himself." Master Li patted his stomach and asked with a smile, "Yin Jinru, is what you said true? There's someone who isn't an alchemist participating in today's competition." Li Xiongwei, at such an important moment, I, Yin Jinru, wouldn't dare to deceive everyone. Yin Jinru paused for a moment and glanced at Wu Wenyong. Everyone immediately understood and pointed at Wu Wenyong and the other two. "Enough." Old Man Gu roared and said, "If someone who isn't an alchemist cheats, I'll inform the entire alchemy empire. In the future, the alchemy empire will ban this person from entering." All right. Yin Jinru clapped his hands and returned to his seat in satisfaction. Wu Wenyong looked at Yin Jinru with eyes full of anger and said angrily, "This old fox is obviously targeting you." Yi Hao smiled indifferently and said, "What's there to be afraid of? The competition is about strength. The identity of an alchemist is just an external thing. There's no need to take it to heart. As for cheating, with my strength, do I need to cheat?" Wu Wenyong laughed heartily. "That's true. I've seen your talent in alchemy with my own eyes. You'll definitely win." At this moment, the alchemists who had signed up for the competition had left their seats one after another and entered the alchemy room. Yi Hao also stood up. Just as he was about to leave, Bing, he called out to him, "Hey, you won't lose, right?" Yi Hao turned around and said confidently, "Of course not. There's no such word in my dictionary." Everyone entered the alchemy room. A pile of herbs was placed in front of the alchemy furnace. Before Old Man Gu gave the order, some people had already started throwing in the herbs. The competition had officially begun. Chapter 1443. Yi Hao looked at the herbs in his hand and didn't rush to start. Instead, he waited quietly for Old Gu to announce the rules of the first round. Bingy saw that some people had already started refining pills, but some people didn't. He asked in confusion, "Why have some people already started before Old Gu announced the rules?" Wu Wenyong explained, "Those who participate in this alchemy conference are not necessarily newcomers. There are also many old people who have participated in the competition before. They are very familiar with the rules of the competition, so they know the rules of the first round." Wu Wenyong's gaze was fixed on 3 places. One was the Yin clan's alchemist, another was the Li clan's alchemist, and the last was Yi Hao, who was sitting quietly. Then what are the rules of the first round? The first round's rule is the standard grade. What is standard grade? Why didn't old Gu announce the rules? Wu Wenyong's expression was a little solemn. He looked at old Master Gu's calm expression and said, "Actually, Grandpa Gu has already announced the rules." Bingyi's eyes widened in confusion. Wu Wenyong fell silent. After waiting for a while, Yihao didn't hear any sound. He couldn't help but wonder what was going on. Were there no rules of the competition? No, Yihao sensed carefully. He could clearly feel that someone had already started refining pills. This meant that the rules had already been announced. Otherwise, it was impossible for someone to start refining pills. Yihao pondered carefully in his mind and fell silent again. Not only Yihao, but the other newcomers to the alchemy conference were also dumbfounded. In the hall, Yin Jinru saw that the hunchbacked old man's pill was almost done refining, but Yihao didn't move. He couldn't help but sneer. Is this third Hai Yi really someone sent by your Wu clan? He doesn't even understand the rules of the competition. What a joke. Yin Qiji didn't mock him. Instead, he looked greedily at the frowning Bingyi. Wu Wenyong surprisingly didn't retort. He was silently worried. He actually knew the rules, but he couldn't tell Yihao. Otherwise, he would be breaking the rules and helping Yihao cheat. Boom, boom. In the alchemy room, 2 perfect grade 1 pills were successfully refined. Yin Jinru and Li Xiongwei looked at the 2 medicinal pills and couldn't help but reveal satisfied smiles. This was because the first to complete it was their 2 clans. Yihao, who was in the alchemy room, could clearly sense that someone had successfully concocted a pill. Suddenly, he stretched out his hands, picked out 10 types of medicinal ingredients, and quickly threw them into the alchemy furnace. Then he started concocting. Yihao smiled and murmured, "The first round is the entry grade. What a great entry grade. If I hadn't carefully considered these 2 words, I'm afraid I would have been eliminated in the first round." Seeing that Yihao had taken action, Wu Wenyong revealed an expression of relief. Bing, he still didn't understand and asked, why did he suddenly start concocting pills? Did he understand the rules? Speaking of which, what are these rules? Wu Wenyong no longer kept him in suspense and said directly, "The rule of the first stage is the entry grade. You have to taste it carefully." Entry grade, entry grade. Bing Yi, who kept repeating these 2 words, suddenly understood and said, "So the first stage is to pick out the pill you need from the many medicinal ingredients and then concoct it. As long as the pill you concoct is of the entry grade, even if it's a grade 1 pill, you can pass the stage." That's right. Wu Wenyong smiled and said, "The reason why so many newcomers can be eliminated in this alchemy conference is because the rules are unknowingly announced. Some careful people can pass the stage after noticing it, but those who aren't careful often get eliminated. Since Sangao has already understood it, it seems like this stage is in the bag." It's in the bag. It's still too early. Yin Jinru saw that Yihao suddenly started concocting pills and was shocked. But then he relaxed and mocked. This Yi Sangao isn't even an alchemist. So what if he understands the rules? Can he really concoct pills? What a joke. That's right. Your Wu clan is getting worse and worse. They actually sent a kid to participate in the competition. Aren't they ashamed? In my opinion, this Wu clan is just trying to save face. Wu Wenyong smiled indifferently and stood up, saying, "Everyone, do you dare to make a bet with me, Wu Wenyong?" "Bet on what?" Yin Jinru looked at him with interest. "Bet on whether my brother Sangao can pass the first stage." "Okay, then let's add something to the bet." Yin Jinru looked at Wu Wenyong with a smirk. Wu Wenyong smiled and said, "Okay, I'll bet 50 shops on my Wu clan's north and south streets." Straightforward. Yin Jinru stood up and said loudly, "Since you've placed such a big bet, my Yin clan can't be stingy. I'll bet 20 shops on the East City Street and 2 spiritual stone veins outside the city that Yi Sangao can't pass the first stage." "This." Yin Qiji sucked in a breath of cold air and said, "Father, isn't this bet a bit too big?" "What do you know?" Yin Jinru looked at his fat son with disappointment and said, "The 50 shops of the Wu clan are worth a lot of money. If I don't place a bigger bet, Wu Wenyong won't be fooled." Do you really think that Yi Sangao can win? You're right. Yi Sangao isn't even an alchemist. How can he successfully refine a standard-grade elixir? Yin Qiji laughed and said disdainfully, "Very good. Who else wants to bet?" Wu Wenyong stood in the hall and looked at everyone with a smile. "I'll bet 10 million spirit coins that Yi Sangao will fail. I'll bet 200 million spirit coins that Yi Sangao will fail. I'll bet 250 million spirit coins and a spirit emperor realm elixir that Yi Sangao can't refine it." In an instant, everyone began to place their bets, certain that Yi Hao would fail. Even the vice president, Dong Feng, and the head of the Li clan were the same. Yin Qiji looked at everyone placing their bets crazily and said worriedly, "These people want to snatch it from us." Yin Jinru waved his hand and said, "It doesn't matter. The more people there are, the more the Wu clan can't deny it." "Okay, anyone else?" Wu Wenyong looked at everyone with a smile. No matter how many people there were, he would accept them all. "Since it's so lively, I'll join the fun too." Old Man Gu took out a brocade box and placed it on the table. He smiled and said, "I'm not like you, rich and overbearing. I have a perfect grade 4th grade elixir here. I'll bet it." Wu Wenyong rubbed his hands and looked at Old Man Gu with a smile. He asked, "Grandpa Gu, what are you betting on?" "I'll bet that Yi Sangao can pass the first round." Wu Wenyong smiled bitterly. Old Man Gu laughed. "I also have an elixir here. I'll bet that Yi Sangao can pass the first round." Finally, Bing Yi took out a perfect quality 9 fire heavenly spirit pill that was shining with a red light with a hint of golden light. Chapter 1444. Hiss! Everyone gasped as they looked at the elixir in Bing Yi's hand with sparkling eyes. That was a perfect quality 9 fire heavenly spiritual pill. It was different from a normal Spirit Emperor Realm pill. After taking it, it could help a person increase their cultivation by 2 realms. It was no exaggeration to say that this pill was more precious than the 2 pills that Old Gu had taken out. Even Yin Jinru and Li Xiongwei, who were rich, couldn't help but look at this pill with burning eyes. Although they had a level 4 alchemist by their side, a perfect quality 9 fire heavenly spiritual pill like this wasn't easy to make. It was a treasure that could only be found by chance. At this moment, Yin Jinru said gloomily, "How do we know if the pill in your hand is a perfect quality 9 fire heavenly spiritual pill? What if you use a fake one to fool us?" "That's right. What if it's fake?" Everyone at the side agreed. "You." Bing Yi's face turned green. She was about to refute when Wu Wenyong stopped her. Wu Wenyong looked at everyone with a smile and said, "Since you don't believe in the authenticity of this pill, let's invite Grandpa Gu to take a look. We'll know if it's real or fake." Grandpa Gu is a level 5 alchemist. You can rest assured if he says so. We naturally believe in Old Gu's words. Since that's the case, we'll have to trouble Grandpa Gu. Wu Wenyong took the pill from Bing Yi's hand and handed it to Old Gu. Old Gu looked at the pill in his hand and frowned. Then he laughed out loud. He looked at Bing Yi and asked, "Little girl, where did you get this pill?" "Old Gu, could it be that this pill is fake?" Yin Jinru asked before Bing Yi could. Old Master Gu ignored him. Instead, he looked at Bing Yi with a smile. Bing Yi glanced at Wu Wenyong and said, "Grandpa Gu, I can't tell you the origin of this pill for now." "Haha, it's okay." Old Gu stroked his white beard and said, "It's the same if you tell me when you want to." Yin Jinru hurried over to Old Master Gu's side and asked anxiously, "Old Master Gu, is this pill real?" Elder Gu placed the pill on the table and said in a deep voice, "Not only is this 9 heavens fire spirit pill real, but it is also of perfect quality." "What perfect quality?" Yin Jinru looked at the elixir with a burning gaze. He quickly said, "Miss, your bet has already been placed on the table. There is no reason for you to go back on your word." Bing Yi looked at him coldly and said, "Of course. I always keep my promises. I hope that everyone will not forget their bet." "Haha, of course. Exactly. Little miss, don't worry. All of us here are reputable figures in Black Mountain City, and will definitely not do something that goes back on our word." "That's right. However, if you lose, don't refuse to give it to me." "Haha." Everyone said one after another. In their hearts, Yi Hao was not even an alchemist. It was impossible for him to refine a flawless grade pill. Therefore, they were bound to lose. At the same time, they were also extremely envious of this perfect grade medicinal pill. Boom! Just as everyone finished speaking, an extremely dense spiritual energy appeared in the alchemy room. Everyone looked up and saw a shining golden pill floating quietly in the air in the alchemy room where Yi Hao was. Is this the completion of the pill? Li Xiongwei looked at the pill floating quietly in front of Yi Hao, and the corner of his eyes twitched. Yan Jinru stared at the shining golden pill and said, "That's impossible. It doesn't make sense. He doesn't even have a grade. How could he refine a flawless grade pill?" Elder Gu was originally squinting his eyes, but when he saw the shining golden pill, his eyes suddenly opened. He stood up and muttered, "Is this a high-grade second-grade pill?" Elder Gu's words stirred up a huge wave in everyone's hearts. What? How is that possible? That's right. He's not an alchemist. How could he refine the pill so quickly? That's right. Not only did he refine the pill, but he even refined a high-grade second-grade pill. That's impossible. Everyone discussed at once, and their hearts were filled with shock. What they didn't know was that Yi Hao did it on purpose. Otherwise, with his alchemy skills, refining a perfect grade pill wouldn't be a problem at all. Second-grade pill? Yin Jinru kept muttering. Suddenly, he smiled sinisterly and said, "Elder Gu, I suspect that Yi Sangao is cheating. These herbs are all first-grade herbs. It's only possible to refine a first-grade pill. How could he refine a second-grade pill? If this isn't cheating, then what is?" Everyone was shocked, and they all agreed with him. He looked at these ugly people and said, "Nonsense." The entire process of Yi Sangao refining the pill was under surveillance. How could he have the chance to cheat? "How would I know how he cheated?" Yan Jinru said lightly. "But if he didn't cheat, how could he refine a second-grade pill?" Wu Wenyong held back the angry Bing Yi and smiled at Elder Gu without saying a word. Elder Gu observed the pill carefully. After confirming that it was a perfect second-grade pill, he smiled and said coldly, "Who said that Yi Sangao cheated? So what if it's first-grade herbs? As long as they're combined well, there's still a chance to refine a second-grade pill." Elder Gu continued, "Yi Sangao put in 10 first-grade herbs. If these herbs are refined together, there's a chance to refine a second-grade pill." Yin Jinru asked carefully, "Elder Gu, what do you mean?" "Yi Sangao didn't cheat. The pill refining is valid. Let's move on to the next round." Elder Gu snorted and sat on the chair. When he looked at Yi Sangao again, there was a hint of admiration in his eyes. I think you guys can't afford to gamble. If you can't afford to gamble, just say it. Don't slander others." Bing Yi looked at everyone with disdain and mocked. When everyone heard Bing Yi's words, they were so angry that they couldn't speak. Wu Wenyong rubbed his hands and looked at everyone with a smile. "Family heads, Yi Sangao has successfully passed the first stage, so I've won this bet. Don't forget about the bet that you've agreed to. After all, Grandpa Gu also placed a bet." Everyone was unhappy that they lost the bet and didn't want to answer. However, when they heard Wu Wenyong mention Elder Gu, they hesitated. Li Xiongwei laughed and said, "Brother Wu, you must be joking. I'm not that kind of person. When Brother Wu has time, come to the Li family. I'll definitely give you the bet." When the other family heads heard this, they quickly agreed and looked at Li Xiongwei with gratitude. Wu Wenyong cupped his hands and replied, Of course. Then, he looked at Yin Jinru, whose eyes were gloomy. Yin Jinru looked at him quietly and didn't say anything. In the alchemy room, Yi Hao looked at the perfect supreme realm pill floating in front of him quietly. He smiled and thought, now I've passed. Chapter 1445. At this moment, Yi Hao did not know about the bet outside. He only wanted to pass the test as soon as possible and become the champion. Although Yi Hao had been under pressure in the past, it was not as much as now. He thought that the Tianyuan Empire would become stronger after becoming a fourth-rank empire, and that no one would dare to bully them. However, he did not know that the so-called strength of the Tianyuan Empire was displayed in the eyes of those who were stronger than them. In the eyes of those people, the strength of the Tianyuan Empire was simply nonsense. Therefore, in order to protect what he wanted to protect, he had to seize the time and work hard to become stronger. Dong! Not long after, Old Man Gu's voice sounded in the alchemy room. The first round of the entrance examination is over. Those who have not refined any pills, please leave the alchemy room as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will never be allowed to step into the alchemy empire. When everyone heard this, some were very happy and glad, while others were very upset and puzzled. Those who were very glad that they understood the rules and stayed. Those who did not understand the rules of the first round were very unhappy that they were asked to leave before they understood the rules of the first round. Then Old Man Gu said, "Now the second round of recognizing herbs officially begins. Those who remain in the alchemy room, please put on the cloth at the side and cover your eyes." Yi Hao and the others did as they were told. Not long after, some people came in and took away all the herbs in front of them. Then, they replaced them with 10 different kinds of herbs. Now, there are 10 different kinds of herbs in front of you. Cover your eyes and use your nose to identify these 10 herbs. After you identify them, remember them in your heart. I will give you the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. The time starts now. After that, everyone picked up the herbs in front of them and began to identify them. At the same time, a stick of incense began to burn slowly in the hall. Wu Wenyong looked at Yin Jinru and said, "What? Is Patriarch Yin going to go back on your word?" "Umph." Yin Jinru snorted and said disdainfully, "I am the wealth god Yin. How can I go back on my word?" "Then what is Patriarch Yan's intention?" "I have never thought of going back on my word. I just want to make a bigger bet with you." "What do you dare?" Everyone could hear the strong smell of gunpowder in the conversation between the two. Then, they looked down and pretended not to see or hear anything. They did not want to get involved. "Sure." Wu Wenyong smiled faintly. "What kind of bet?" The corners of Yin Jinru's mouth curled up. He pointed at the virtual figure in the hall and said, "Let's bet on who will be the champion between you and my people." Li Xiongwei patted his belly and said faintly, "I say, how can you be so sure that my people won't win?" Yin Jinru ignored him. He looked at Wu Wenyong and said indifferently, "Do you dare?" Wu Wenyong smiled and said, "Sure, but for such a big gamble, if the stakes are too small, I'm afraid it doesn't match your identity as the Yin family head." "I, Yin Jinru, bet all of the Yin family's assets. Do you dare to accept?" "Father." When Yin Shiji heard that his father wanted to use all of the Yin clan's assets to gamble, he couldn't help but hurriedly say, "No." Yin Jinru patted Yin Shiji's hand and said softly, "Don't worry. How can Yi Hao win?" Wu Wenyong pretended to think about it carefully, then slapped the table and said, "Okay, let's bet." In fact, he said in his heart, "Idiot, you're going to lose." Old Man Gu didn't participate in the bet this time. Instead, he stared at the projection very intently. To be precise, he stared at Yi Sangyao in the projection. He had to know that Wu Wenyong had bet all of his assets for him. However, even if he knew, he would only clap his hands and cheer, making Yin Jinru lose all of his assets. After all, he was very confident in his alchemy skills. In the alchemy room, Yi Hao carefully smelled the first medicinal ingredient in his hand, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. After putting it down, he picked up the second medicinal ingredient, followed by the third and the fourth. In less than half an incense stick's time, he finished smelling all of the medicinal ingredients and then lay on the ground in boredom. Just after Yi Hao, the Yin clan and the Li clan's level 4 alchemists were also done. Everyone in the hall had different expressions, but it didn't take long for the incense in the hall to burn out. Old Man Gu stood up and said in a deep voice, "All right, I've already asked someone to remove the medicinal ingredients. Now, there's a piece of paper and a pen in front of you. Write down all the medicinal ingredients that you just identified. If you write down 9 or more correctly, you can participate in the third round." Hearing this, everyone in the alchemy room took down their cloths and began to write quickly on the white paper. This time, The Yin clan and the Li clan's level 4 alchemists were the first to finish. Then, Yi Hao also finished, and then there were people who finished one after another. After Yi Hao and the others finished writing, someone took away their paper and sent it to Old Man Gu in the hall. Old Master Gu opened the slips of paper one by one and read them carefully. The others in the hall looked at Old Man Gu curiously. It didn't take long for Old Man Gu to finish reading all the papers. Then, he placed the 5 papers on his right on the table. Everyone asked, "Old Man Gu, what's the result?" Old Man Gu said, "The result is out. This time, 5 people passed. Their papers are on my right. Let me read it out. Inlan, 5th place, wrote 9 types correctly. Zuyusi, 4th place, wrote 9 types correctly. Limi, 3rd place, wrote 10 types correctly. Yin Yin, 2nd place, wrote 10 types correctly." At this point, there was only 1 paper left in Old Man Gu's hand. Yin Jinru and Li Xiongwei sat calmly in their seats. They were both level 4 alchemists, so it was naturally not a problem for them to pass the second round. Yin Jinru took a sip of tea and looked at the slightly nervous Wu Wenyang. He asked, "There's one more paper. Don't tell me that Yi San Gao can't even pass the second round? If that's the case, I'm really disappointed." Wu Wenyang pretended to be nervous and looked at the paper in Old Man Gu's hand. He didn't answer. Old Man Gu opened the paper in his hand and said loudly, "Yi San Gao, 1st place, wrote 11 types." Puffed. Yin Jinru spat out a mouthful of tea. "What? Yi San Gao is 1st place? Why, that's right. How can he be 1st place? Wait, 11 types. Didn't he say that there were only 10 types? Why did Yi San Gao write 11 types? That's right. Why are there 11 types? If that's the case, didn't Yi San Gao write one more type? He should be eliminated." Old Man Gu stomped his feet in the face of everyone's questioning voices. "Quiet. I know what you're questioning. That's right. I did say that there were 10 types of medicinal herbs, but I didn't say to write down 10 types. I only asked you to write down the medicinal herbs that you identified. It seemed like there were only 10 types of medicinal herbs that I ordered people to put in, but there were actually 11 types. Yi San Gao wrote them all down word for word. Why isn't he 1st place? Why should he be eliminated?" Everyone was instantly speechless. Old Man Gu was in extremely good mood. He said loudly, "I announce that the 1st place of the second round is Yi San Gao. The 5 people who pass the second round can rest for 2 hours. After that, they will proceed to the last round, the alchemy assessment." Chapter 1446. People left the alchemy room one after another. In the end, only Yi Hao and the other 4 were left. At the same time, Old Master Gu's voice sounded in the alchemy room. "Congratulations to all of you for making it to the end. As the saying goes, the most important thing for an alchemist is to refine pills. Therefore, the last stage is to test everyone's ability to refine pills. The time limit is the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Whoever can refine the highest quality pill and who has the strongest ability to refine pills will be the winner of this alchemist convention. Now, the precious herbs beside you are all from our branch. You can start refining your own pills." As soon as he finished speaking, Li Mi and Yin Gu grabbed the 4th grade herbs beside them and threw them into the alchemy furnace to refine pills. Inlan and Zuyusi hesitated for a moment before grabbing the 4th grade pills and starting to refine. Only Yi Hao sat there motionlessly. In the hall, Old Master Gu was very concerned about Yi Hao. He asked Wu Wenyang, "Wenyang, this Yi San Gao really doesn't have a grade? From what I can see, his alchemy skills and talent aren't bad at all." "Grandpa Gu, he really doesn't have a grade," Wu Wenyang replied with a smile. Old Master Gu nodded slightly, and a smile appeared on his face. Yin Jinru couldn't help but say, "I say, is this Yi San Gao scared silly? He hasn't done anything for so long. It seems like it was just a fluke." Without waiting for Wu Wenyang to speak, Bing retorted, "It hasn't been that long. Why doesn't your face hurt anymore?" Yin Jinru naturally heard the implied meaning. His face turned red and he shouted angrily, Li Xiongwei couldn't help but laugh. Yin Jinru stared coldly at Li Xiongwei. Old Li, what do you mean? Nothing, nothing. Li Xiongwei quickly waved his hand and said, It's just that this young lady's words are quite interesting. I couldn't help it. Please forgive me. Oomph. Yin Jinru slammed the teacup in his hand on the table. His face darkened, and he didn't say anything else. Yin Chiji was still looking at Bing Yi with infatuation. However, Bing Yi didn't even look at him. This small episode didn't affect everyone watching the alchemy. Suddenly, someone pointed at Yi Hao and said, Yi Sangao made a move. But why did he throw all the grade 4 herbs in? Hearing this, everyone took a closer look. Sure enough, Yi Sangao threw all of the 4th-tier medicinal ingredients into the cauldron. Old Man Gu looked at the herbs with a pained expression. TSK, this kid is indeed an ungraded alchemist. If he was an orthodox alchemist, he wouldn't dare to do this. It's just a pity for these herbs. My heart aches so much. Originally, Old Master Gu felt that Yi Hao's talent in alchemy was very high and wanted to take him in as a disciple. But after seeing this scene, he hesitated. Although there were a lot of medicinal ingredients, it was already very good to be able to form a single pill out of so many medicinal ingredients. Wanting to form all of them was too arrogant and too impatient. This was a great taboo in alchemy. Old Master Gu wasn't the only one who had such thoughts. All the other patriarchs in the hall had the same thoughts. Therefore, other than Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi, who were smiling, no one in the hall was optimistic about Yi Hao's actions. Yi Hao, who was in the alchemy room, didn't know what everyone was thinking at this moment. He felt that it was too troublesome to refine pills one by one. So, he threw all 50 sets of medicinal ingredients in a cauldron. Then he used his spiritual energy to heat up the cauldron and slowly refine the pills. Old Man Gu's pupil shrank. Spiritual energy fire guide? Although the method isn't very formal, the principles used are similar. It seems that this kid has been hiding his skills. This is getting more and more interesting. I'm suddenly looking forward to it. Looking forward to it, Old Man Gu muttered to himself. It seems that I haven't felt this way for many years. The last time I felt this way was when I just became a grade 5 alchemist. Bang! At this moment, there was a sudden explosion in the alchemy room. Everyone looked over. It turned out that Inland's cauldron had exploded. It was obvious that the alchemy had failed. But now, more than half the time had passed. It was too late to refine any more pills. Therefore, Inlan chose to give up. Not long after, there was a rumbling sound in the alchemy room. It turned out that Zui Yuxi's pill was out. Everyone looked over with anticipation. They only saw an ordinary pill lying quietly in Zui Yuxi's hand. Zui Yuxi looked at the ordinary grade 4 pill in his hand. Clearly, there was a trace of dissatisfaction in his heart. Boom, boom. Then, there were 2 more rumbling sounds in the alchemy room. It was Li Mi and Yin Ge. Both of their pills had been refined. One was shining with a faint golden light, while the other was shining with a dazzling golden light. The quality of the pills was obvious. Yin Jinru looked at Li Xiongwei proudly and said, How is it, Old Li? I already said that your people can't beat mine. My people refined a grade 4 pill of perfect quality, while yours refined a grade 4 pill of top quality. I'll definitely win. It's not the end yet. Patriarch Yin, don't jump to conclusions. Although Wu Wenyong's eyes were fixed on Yi Hao, he still said indifferently, Ha! Yin Jinru laughed and said, There's not much time left. Do you really believe that Yi Sangao can refine the pill? It's not the end yet. I can't wait to take over all of your Wu family's businesses. Wu Wenyong didn't argue with him anymore. He clenched his fists and stared at the projection. Bingy stood at the side. Although she was worried, she wasn't as worried as Wu Wenyong. Old Man Gu was looking forward to the last moment. What kind of surprise could Yi Sangao bring him? Time slowly passed, and the incense stick stuck in the hall slowly reached the end of its life. Yin Jinru laughed and said, Haha, time is up. Yi Sangao didn't refine the pill. Wu Wenyong, you lost. Wu Wenyong's clenched fists suddenly loosened. He said with relief, Who said he didn't refine it? Open your eyes and look carefully. Before he finished speaking, there was a rumbling sound from where Yi Hao was. Then, a golden pill appeared in everyone's vision. Old Man Gu touched his beard and said in shock, "Hiss, this is a perfect fourth-grade pill." What? Everyone was in an uproar. Yin Jinru still couldn't believe his eyes. He roared, "Impossible! How is this possible? He's a kid who isn't even an alchemist. How can he refine a fourth-grade pill?" On the side, Yin Qiji, who was still limping, hurriedly supported him and said softly, "Father, even if Yi Sanggao refined a perfect fourth-grade medicinal pill, we haven't lost yet." Wu Wenyong looked at the father and son and said jokingly, "Oh, is that so? Then take a good look." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.